Joining us tonight is Jake Rattlesnake.
I like to go by Lord Rattlesnake or Lord Jake, most base chat of all the lands.
You don't have an argument. Present your paper or shut up.
Everyone's view is definitely inherently biased. So this is when debate becomes very interesting. I can hear what you're saying, but then I can see that you're dressed as a cat.
I'm a dog.
You said you like to go play fetch.
I have wolf, yes.
So how does that tie into your relationship? Like, what are you looking for if you're a dog? Yeah, I think that Don Jr. will be president one day. If I was a gambling man, I'd put money on that.
Founder of Rattlesnake TV, Jake.
Man, I really appreciate it, dude.
Ladies and gentlemen, good evening from Australia. Good morning to those of you in America. If you are up, it is 6 a.m. Eastern time right now. What is the Pacific time over there? 3 a.m. Pacific time. Sorry to all my brothers on Pacific time right now. Let's see the time differences. Texas, it's 5 a.m. Look, you know, it's early. It's early. I don't even know if anybody's really going to be joining us today. We're left with the British and the Australian audience. I got Miss D, Thomas Fitzpatrick, and the likes. So that's all right. Any other familiar faces? Katandabat. V Scott's here. Couple new faces, people who perhaps don't catch the streams as often, which is very good. Lots of new faces, which is cool to see. Cool to see. Like the video on the way in, guys. Show YouTube that this stream is the absolute duck's nuts, guys. Show YouTube that this stream is the bee's knees, the duck's nuts. It's, you know, what everyone's talking about. It's what's on everybody's lips, okay? Very nice. Of course, ladies and gentlemen, we are here today to talk about the debate between Andrew Wilson and Owen Shroyer. Controversy, ladies and gents. Controversy at its absolute finest. This one's been going viral on Twitter. You've got some mouth breathers on Twitter, but this is just sort of the way that it goes. Mouth breathing, low IQ takes on Twitter, but that is just the way that things are over there. I mean, every time I go on live stream, occasionally we get them in the lives here, but normally people can engage with the long form debates on YouTube, and they'll be doing long form streams. They'll be with us for a few hours, and they'll be sort of going through the arguments and the breadth of the arguments in a lot of detail. So that's why live streams are cool, because generally speaking, you do get people who are a little bit more sort of transient in these communities. But generally speaking, people come here because they want to engage with something in a more sort of stimulating long form way. And so that's why we don't really get too much of it over here. But on X, it is just completely different. People, all they want to do is look at the clips. And you've noticed this on Instagram as well. You notice this on TikTok. So I'm starting to think that it's a totally parallel universe, just in the way that people interact with ideas and the way that they interact with content over there. Because if I don't see anybody doing essentially a long form breakdown of these videos in a way that is thoroughly critical, then I just don't really take any of this criticism seriously. Because here's what I've seen so far. And we're going to get into this, what I actually believe about the ideas and the arguments put forth here, because maybe it might surprise a few of you. But what I've seen so far is people clip farming on X and people just saying, oh, he said something that he just totally didn't say. I saw one guy today, this is one of the clips that's been going viral. He put in quotations that Andrew said that he thinks that little Iranian schoolgirls are better off dead. And then in brackets, it said, paraphrasing. Well, chieftain, when you paraphrase something, you don't put quotations. That is just basic grammar. That is just basic literary knowledge 101. You don't put quotations when you paraphrase something. And this is the sort of thing that flies. No one calls it out. So we've got that. And then we've got all of the people who have ever debated Andrew coming out of the woodworks. You've got Coach Greg Adams. You've got Daniel Hikachu. You have got Rich Cooper. all of these people who have debated Andrew are now sort of like coming out from the dark corners and just trying to like feast on what they see as a carcass. It is pretty funny to see. But yeah, obviously, I mean, he's been through this many times. It's not his first controversy, and not the first time that people thought, "Well, this is it for him." But he always seems to double his audience after that. But anyways, it's not to talk about that. What we're going to be talking about today is the actual points in the debate, guys. I want to go through all of these ideas because they're actually just really interesting ideas. And this was actually a really good debate between two guys who are absolute heavyweights. Owen Shroyer. Guys, Owen Shroyer coming in in the blue corner, okay, over here. Owen Shroyer has been doing this forever. He's been on InfoWars for a long time. This is back in 2016. He's been through all the massive controversies. He was the one who had the... I remember when I was first getting into politics, I'd listen to guys like Flecker's Talks, and I'd listen to George Peterson, obviously, and people like this. And I always used to think that this guy was hilarious because he'd have the speakerphone and he'd be yelling about how Trump is really good, and all these libs would be losing their minds. They'd be losing it, and he'd be there just not giving a single shit. His last shit just flew away a long time ago. And I always respected that. And that's sort of what's burned in my mind when I think about Owen Shroyer is him just triggering these libs pro-Trump, putting it all on the line. And yeah, that's who he is. And then eventually the J6 stuff, he goes to prison and he's locked in solitary confinement. So I mean, this is a guy who has, blood, sweat, and tears for the cause over the years. He really is a legend of the movement. All of the stuff that went on with Alex Jones and InfoWars as well, the lawsuits and everything, he was there for it all. So, I mean, a heavyweight, an absolute heavyweight. And then you've got Andrew Wilson, who is somebody who has been just massive on the debate scene over the past few years. He really has done some fantastic debates, original arguments. He's been extremely instrumental in putting arguments out to the ether, the forced doctrine, arguments against feminism, arguments against secularism, against progressives, extremely helpful and in a very unique way in the movement. Arguments against female suffrage. This has now come into play, this argument, okay? Should women vote? Should we repeal the 19th Amendment? And I would say that the Wilsons have had a profound impact in that. So just a fantastic debate, mouth-watering stuff in terms of the casual debate enjoyer and observer like me and like many of you will be. So these two guys are debating, and it's on, is Donald Trump's presidency a success? Is his second term, has it been a success? Okay, there are definitely arguments from both sides here. You're going to get the Twitter crowd who will say, anybody who says anything positive about Trump now is a Zionist shill. Okay, boring, low IQ stuff. And funnily enough, actually, we had one of those on the channel last week. Some chick was challenging him, related to Ann Coulter, this chick. And she's challenging him and she's saying, Rachel Wilson is not authentic because there's places that she won't go. We have this chick on the channel. Okay, we give her the time of day to do the debate. Well, all he's basically saying is, well, what do you mean by that? Well, I mean, I didn't prepare for that. Okay, lady. Well, what the fuck are you doing debating about it then? Anyways. But anyways, that's the way that it goes at the moment. You have the mouth breathers over there who are saying that anybody who opposes and anybody who wants to give arguments to the contrary, well, you must be Jewish or something. Okay, got it. Sure. But then you got guys like Owen, who obviously have been doing this for a long time and they have serious arguments to put forward, okay? So it's a really good debate, no matter which way you look at it. Moorhead came in with 10 to kick it off. Thank you very much, Moorhead. Can we get a smoker? Yes, you can, my friend. Yes, you can, my friend.
Come on, Smoker! So leave me alone!
Tyler, new name over here, says for 5, Brian bringing up the car accident at the end was a low blow and bullshit. He tried to be nice about it, but his intentions were nefarious. Well, funnily enough, guys, I've been really busy all day working on a video covering Rachel's thing. So straight after this stream, as soon as this is done, we're going to be raiding over, if the video is edited and done by then, which it should be, we'll be raiding over to Rattlesnake TV for the live premiere of my video covering Brian and Rachel, and it's a good video, guys. You're going to like it. It's a funny video. Thank you very much, Tyler. Appreciate that. Let me take my jumper off. It's a bit hot in here, guys. Representing the motherland today, Italia, 1980s soccer jersey. Haven't gotten change since after the gym, if I'm just totally honest with you guys. Didn't expect to be taking my jumper off, but here we are. All right, so couple things. I'm going to be giving my opinions about this because I do have opinions about these things, about the Iran war, about Epstein. These aren't really things that I normally go into too much detail about, but I will be today. But most of all, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be assessing the debate. So this is really important ground rules for what we're about to do. We're going to be assessing this on the merits of debate, okay? So if I watch the Kuma Gremlin against a conservative, right, like, or even if I watch, say, this is a better example, MAGA, Emily Saves America, Dean Withers, Dean cooked her, okay? Just on debate merit. Doesn't mean I like Dean Withers, doesn't mean I agree with what he's saying, but what it means is that he absolutely smashed her in that debate. Because we're going to look at it in an honest way, who is winning the exchanges. So that's the first and foremost thing that we're going to be doing here. And then I'm going to be qualifying everything with that, and that will be the premise. And then after that, I'm going to go into a little bit what I think about the arguments being put forth, my own opinion. Okay, so should be interesting. I highly encourage everybody to engage with this as much as possible. As long as we're not being spurgs, don't spurg out, don't put capital letters on what you're doing. Okay, we don't want to see capital letters. My opinion's more important than everybody else's. Just engage thoughtfully. If you send super chats, it'll definitely get read out. 5 and up will definitely get read out. If you have an argument, if you have a criticism, if you have a claim, please do, because that makes the stream way funner, okay? And then we can engage with it in real time together. So, also, guys, the stream links element is going to be in the chat there, in the live chat. If you don't want to donate your money to YouTube, it takes 30%. And I just realized, guys, if you do it on your phone, if you donate on your phone, it takes 50%. Apple takes their cut as well. I'm going to have to make sure of that, but I'm pretty sure that's true. So that's messed up. Anyway, without further ado, ladies and gents, ground rules set. Let's get into the debate.
It's followed by audience Q&A for 30 minutes. And then first,
thanks all of you for being here. First and foremost, thanks all of you for being here. And before we do anything else, we got the legend Owen Shroyer. Can we give him a good round of applause?
So that's how men do it. First of all, Andrew and Owen, for anybody who didn't know, they're mates, okay? They're mates. They've collabed before this as well. They're going to have a good old... This is like a bar fight, okay? Not a physical fight, but two guys sitting at the bar disagreeing, but then, you know, they're at the end, okay, yeah, you have a good night. See you later, Andrew. See you later, Owen. Have a good night. That's what that is, okay? Unlike Brian Shapiro, who comes in and straight away, hey, baby daddies. Okay, Brian Shapiro.
That said, you're still going to get stomped. So, first and foremost, let me clear up any misrepresentation when it comes to my views. I am anti-Zionist and anti-Christian Zionist especially. I have done many debates on the topic, and I've won them all. I'm also very anti-Islam and consider the ideology just as poisonous as the ideology of Zionism, especially Christian Zionism. I am not a war supporter in Iran, and I never have been. I say this at the beginning of the debate, so when bad faith trolls who are on foreign accounts try to influence American politics in the comments, claiming that I'm in some way a Zionist, pro-Israel, pro-Islam shill, you can shatter the lies by simply showing them the beginning of this debate, which they won't even watch, and you and I can laugh at their stupidity together.
On that note, ladies and gentlemen, that got shared on X, and lo and behold, guess what happened? People clipping up the debate, taking everything that he says out of context, as happens every time, sharing it around, and all of the absolute mouth-breathing, knuckle-dragging, window-licking mongoloids have come out to play, guys. And I don't need to tell you who we're talking about here. Absolute mongoloids from the eastern steppe, never experienced civilization. Just ooga boogers, guys. So anyways, yes, we did laugh. But he's prefacing it here. Andrew, done debates against Christian Zionism. Debated apostate prophet about Christian Zionism. Not a Zionist, okay? His position here is not pro-Zionist. We can elucidate throughout if you'd like, and if anybody disagrees, then feel free to let us know.
That said, I also don't believe Jews or Arabs are ontologically evil just because they are Jewish or Arabic. I represent a worldview, and I believe there are stupid and evil ideologies in this world, and those are the things I debate against and resist on a political level. Today we debate if Trump has been successful as a president. Usually I would clear this up semantically and quickly with Owen, but we seem to have the same general notion about what success means and doesn't mean, so we will just get right to the heart of the debate. I'd like to begin by pointing out that Trump stopping two different left-wing women from becoming president and being the first.
This is really funny here. Okay, so we've already got some window lickers in the stream here. We've already got some window lickers in chat here. This stream will reveal if Jake values truth or his friendship with Andrew. Andrew fumbled terribly. Now notice that this person doesn't make an argument, guys. This is what happens when the Twitter mongoloid, the knuckle dragger, ooga booga, ooga booga, ooga booga, comes over to YouTube. What's happening over here? That's what he's saying. What's happening over here? Absolute mongoloid, okay? So, first of all, Andrew and I disagree all the fucking time. We have a show together where that's half of the fucking show is us disagreeing with each other, okay? All the time. So, yes, I can disagree with him and feel pretty comfortable going to bed at night having disagreed with a friend. It actually makes life a lot funner. And even if I did agree with everything that he says here, guys, if I agreed with absolutely everything to the letter, how would that in any way prove that I didn't value the truth? Maybe I just agree with him. But we'll see anyway. We'll see how if your prediction comes to fruition.
President, who is a woman, should immediately default.
Sorry, guys, I should. How did I not? This is that person.
Level out,
Tamar!
To the position of a successful president. As just that alone saved the nation from years of torment and suffering from the most insufferable vocal fried women the world has ever seen. That alone, I feel like, wins me the debate, but there's so much more. Starting on the pro-Christian side, office of faith, though I don't like who's in it, I like there's an office for it. Affirm via executive order there are two genders and revoke the idea of gender being different from sex. He signed an executive order stopping trans-surgical chemical alterations of children. He made Christmas Eve and the day after Christmas federal holidays affirming Christian beliefs as the ones we celebrate. He signed an executive order to eradicate anti-Christian bias in the government. He expanded school choice via executive order so we could remove our children from indoctrination center of atheists. He signed an executive order expanding Christian participation in adoption. He reinstated the Mexico City policy blocking U.S. tax dollars from promoting abortions in other nations. He enforced the Hyde Amendment to stop federal funding of abortions. He strengthened the conscientious protection for doctors and nurses who are against abortion. He supported religious charter schools. He directed the State Department to prioritize against Christian persecution abroad, just to name some of his policy directives. And that's just the Christian side. Domestically, his most major victory is something incredible. Net migration negative, more immigrants leaving than coming. Both legal and illegal, which was his primary function in office from the standpoint of voters. And this is one of the few Western nations where that is the case currently with limited exceptions. The Cato Institute, very pro-immigration, had to admit themselves that Trump has limited legal immigration even more than illegal immigration, negating the base fear from his own base that he would stop illegal immigration, ramp up legal immigration. He hasn't. Over 100.
Okay. Look, I know I don't really go live at this time very often, but we had some pretty funny people come through. Some pretty funny comments. Someone goes, if you're live, say hi. Actually, I'm not live. I pre-planned all of this. Okay. I pre-planned all of this and all of the interaction that I'm having with the chat right now. And I foretold that because I have a Sumerian looking glass that I was able to predict the future with.
$30,000 less per month just on the legal side. Real wage growth is up 1.3% under Trump. It was negative under Biden. The federal workforce down 10%, which is excellent. Crime is down across the nation. Even Owen agrees with that. The Overton window has shifted right on most national conversations, including LGBTQ and transgender ideology. This isn't even getting into the historic court cases like Roe v. Wade and Chevron, which undid huge injustices in the United States. These are just some of Trump's accomplishments among many. I just can't list them all due to time. The idea of Owen Shroyer and many other anti-Trump right-wingers is accelerationism. The glaring logical hole, of course, in that is all that happens is Democrats get power, make life worse for everybody, and then they just run back to Republicans to fix everything the Democrats...
All right, so a key point here. One of his, in Andrew's argument. So he's talking about the idea of accelerationism. Now, in a broader sense, accelerationism is the idea that we are so far down the shitter, down the rabbit hole, that we have to just accelerate the decline, reach total collapse, reach rock bottom, so that eventually we can rebuild again. Okay? There's a societal argument for this. Some people support accelerationism in terms of AI. You know, we're all cooked. AI is going to take over. We may as well just accelerate the decline and then rebuild. We just may as well do the rebuild quicker. Make it quick, rip the Band-Aid off. Now, what he's talking about here in terms of the right-wing accelerationism is in the sense that they believe that the thing that's in fact dying is the Republican Party. The GOP is dying. So they want to accelerate the decline, crash the GOP so that some sort of an alternative arises. Whether it's within the GOP or an alternative, I'm not too sure. So they're saying, well, may as well vote for Democrats. If we just vote for Democrats, then the Republicans will just be completely demoralized and they will lose, and they'll have to change their tune on immigration and on H-1B visas, and they'll have to change their tune on international wars, the Iran war, for example, and they'll have to basically acquiesce to the demands of the real America First movement. That's the idea that he's talking about with accelerationism there. I don't think that Owen actually subscribes to that, but he would be somewhere along the line of that. But he'll elucidate.
Did, and the entire time is spent by Republicans cleaning up the mess that Democrats and leftists left for us. It doesn't work and can't work in a two-party system. Ensuring Democrat control by denouncing Trump and Republicans just assures a packed Supreme Court, outrageous censorship, mass migration, expansion of gay agenda, feminism, and the movement of an anti-Christian and anti-Christ-driven world.
So now Andrew's argument obviously here is that the accelerationism argument just can't work because then you're just handing power back to the Democrats. And whilst things are bad, they're going to make it infinitely worse because these are literal communist, homosexual subversives who just want to indoctrinate your children into these ideologies. And they want to open up the border and forever replace the demographic of your country. And then eventually once you realize how bad it is over there, you'll come running back to the GOP. But instead of doing that, Andrew's saying, no, we have to keep the Republican government, keep the GOP in power, and just make incremental change to the best of our ability.
You guys seem to forget we had Biden. It was awful. And rather than continue his policies, people elected Trump en masse because life under Democrats is fucking awful. Now, you aren't going to get everything you want out of any administration. Trump is way too pro-feminist, pro-gay, and pro-Zionist for my personal liking, but we all knew that going in. He was still vastly superior to the alternative to Democrats and their cohorts, especially Harris, who wanted to roll back tax breaks
30 seconds.
And tax as an offset instead of tariffs, which is Democrat policy as usual. We knew Trump was pro-Israel. He moved the embassy to Jerusalem and tore up the Iran deal the first time around. We knew this was part of what we were getting when we elected him, including Owen Shroyer, who, by the way, was put in solitary confinement by Democrats and held, in my opinion, as a political prisoner. That's what's in store for us under Democrats. I will cede no ground to Democrats under any circumstances, as there's no alternative. There's nothing. You cannot give Democrats power, period. And with that, I'll cede the rest of my time, but just note that progressive ideology is always waiting to strike, and going against Trump is not going to help against that fight.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you actually just listen to it, because people are so emotionally charged by these arguments, that they completely lose their sort of sense of rationality. And there'll be people in the chat who are, not exactly overly encumbered by the weight of deep thought around these sorts of things, okay? Just quickly, Could It Can Be is in the front row again. This guy, Gabriel here, Remember, guys know Could It Can Be? He's in the front row, always taking notes at all of these events. I mean, I gotta love the hustle on the guy. But anyways, so Andrew comes out. He says, I'm not pro-Zionist, all right? I'm definitely not pro-Christian Zionist. I'm not pro the war. He's got a red line when it comes to the war. He knows that Trump is way too pro-gay, way too pro-classical liberal, way too pro-woman in the cabinet, and way too pro-Zionist, but he voted for him anyway because giving power to the Democrats is a complete and utter disaster because they are all gay race communists. He's not saying, yeah, we have to go to war in Iran. This is a fantastic thing. You know, Shabbat Shalom. That's not what he's saying. Clearly not what he's saying. So anyways, now that we have that out the way, and I hope that if you guys were convinced by some of these narratives that you're seeing on Twitter, then this will actually clear it up for you a little bit. If you're actually just thinking about this in a reasonable way. If you're not, then I can't help you.
Thank you very much for that opening. We'll kick it over to Owen for his opening as well.
Well, the premise of this debate is, has President Trump been successful or not? The premise is not, are the Democrats a bad political party? I think that we all agree with that. So that is not the premise of the debate. And I feel that the very fact that we are having this debate shows that there is at least room for consideration that the Trump administration has not been successful. And while you do list off things that Trump has been successful on, and I will give credit to this administration on securing the border and lowering crime rates, quickly on those issues, though, these are not things that we should have to beg for. These are not things that we should have to consider a success. These should be things that are considered a standard. So really, that's more of a story of how corrupt our country has become, which gets to what this...
Oh, look, he's not wrong about that. He's definitely not wrong about that. Like, it is actually bullshit that Donald Trump has to go through all of this shit to actually just be deporting illegal aliens. Just think about it for a second. The media machine against him and the Democrat machine and the NGO machine that is against him is mobilized to the degree that all he's doing is literally trying to deport illegal gangbangers, gang members, rapists, child traffickers, MS-13 members, and there is color revolution protests going on in the streets where you have like little militias of wokies forming and all organized in signal groups and everything, funded by NGOs, and all of the different state bodies are going against Trump, and he just can't get anything done because of the bureaucracy. Or it's much more difficult to get anything done because of the bureaucracy anyway. That is bullshit. But anyways, throughout the course of the debate, you're going to see that these guys agree about a lot of things in terms of domestic policy. The really interesting stuff happens with the Iran war and the Epstein stuff.
Administration was supposed to be all about. It was supposed to be addressing the corruption head on in that collision and destroying it in the process. And I think it's fair to say that at least to this point, it's not happening. But here's some of the other issues that I think are going to be more important when it comes to, is Trump going to be successful? The economy. The vast majority of Americans still believe the economy is heading in the wrong direction. We have more Americans that are living paycheck to paycheck today than any other time in recent history. And as everybody is well aware, our national debt continues to go to record highs. But it's not just the country that's in debt. The average citizen is in debt. It's so bad now that people are having to take out payment plans for pizza delivery. Now, you might not want to blame all of that on President Trump, and perhaps that's fair, but yet this is the economy ongoing under President Trump. And it doesn't help when anytime there's another war on the other side of the planet, we have billions of dollars to spend on that while the average American continues to struggle. So the economy, I don't think you can claim has been a success. Tied into that is Doge, the Doge cuts. Elon Musk.
So just quickly, we're going to get further into this throughout the entire course of the debate. But yeah, a fine point by Owen there. I mean, people are really having to tighten up the belts anymore and to have to justify and rationalize to the people, look, this war on the other side of the world here, it's necessary for us to spend all of these billions of dollars on this because, you know, Straits of Hormuz, we've got to control the Straits of Hormuz. Yeah, I don't think people are going to be overly desperate for that. And we're going to give billions to Israel every single year in aid. because we need them to sort of like test our weapons or whatever it is. Don't think people are going to be overly happy with that when they see their towns gutted, middle America being completely gutted and destroyed, potholes in the roads. You can't have clean drinking water in Flint, Michigan. Don't think people are going to be overly sold on that. So it's a fine point, and a lot of people are going to really relate to that.
Musk believed we could get $1 trillion in DOGE cuts annually. We got a couple 10 million, and they stopped that. There's not going to be any DOGE stimulus checks, whether you wanted that or not. So DOGE getting cut out cold, I think, was a major failure. Barack Obama has deported more Americans than Donald Trump. Now, we might get into the details of that today. I will spare those details for the opening. I'm sure that this will come back up. But yet that...
Interesting you said more Americans. I think it just might have been a slip of the tongue there, but deported more Americans.
That fact remains. What about the deep state? President Trump himself has posted about treasonous politicians more times than we can count. So if there's politicians that are treasonous and you are the president, then I have to ask, where are the arrests? That's kind of the biggest crime you can commit in this country, and yet nobody has been arrested. Don't even get me started on the Epstein clients, which are apparently a hoax one day, and then the next day Melania Trump is addressing the nation on how the victims of the hoax need to speak to Congress. So I'm not sure where we want to go with that, but either way, no deep state arrests. Where are all the Epstein pedophile arrests? We're not getting those. These are things that people anticipated, and yet there's no success there either. And by the way, as you mentioned, Trump's victory over the liberal women, which I think we'll all agree was a major victory, he was not the president when that happened. He's never won an election as president. Just thought I'd point that out. As far as the office of faith is concerned, it seems to be...
Real nothing burger will point that one.
Going about the same way of the Board of Peace. Nothing but vanity, no real results. You talk about...
See, this is the thing as well here. And that actually is kind of emblematic of the debate. It's kind of a microcosm of the debate in a way, because Andrew comes out and he doesn't say that department... What's it called again?
Office of Faith.
Office of Faith. He doesn't come out and say, this is the greatest thing ever. He says, look, not great, don't like that chick who's running it, but at least it's something that he comes and, he does an Office of Faith, because we want a foot in the door in terms of just, bringing Christianity back into government. And we want Christianity in government more and not less. So, that's sort of a building block, I guess. Whereas Owen says not good enough. And look, fair enough, it's not good enough. But that's just the microcosm of the debate there.
Is concerned, it seems to be going about the same way of the Board of Peace. Nothing but vanity, no real results. You talk about the anti-Christian bias that they're fighting, yet look at who Trump is working with now. He's making sure that Karine Jean Bohler kicked off of the Religious Liberties Commission for her political takes. Yet Laura Loomer, who is a vehement anti-Muslim, anti-Catholic psychotic, somehow has the ear of President Trump. So I'm not sure if that's really working for the anti-Christian. Wage growth, that's going to be an interesting one. I'm sure we're going to get more into that. But I think it goes back to the general economic picture that whether it's Trump or anybody else, Americans are still struggling. And I think if we be honest here, if we're going to be honest, a lot of this economy is actually Trump's fault. And I know he likes to blame it on Biden, but if you go back and look at it, it was the COVID economy that caused the permanent damage. It was the COVID economy that resulted in 10 to 15 to 20% inflation. Those are Trump's policies. Now, Biden was obviously a disaster. I'm not here to promote anything Biden did, but that was the Trump economy. The COVID economy is the Trump economy. Now, as far as accelerationism is concerned...
Yeah, it is harsh, though. His economy was good before that. Before they thrust the coronavirus on him, Trump's economy in his first term, for the first 3 years or so there, was pretty good. It was killing.
I don't believe I have ever publicly supported that. I do understand the concept. I understand why people like it. I'm not here because I want Democrats to win. And I think this is a very important statement for me to make, because much like in your opening statement, you wanted to clarify some things that people get wrong about you. I want to clarify this. I do not want Democrats to win. As has already been documented in this debate, Democrats have put me in prison. In fact, I was put in jail 4 times for supporting President Trump, including the last one when I was put in solitary confinement. So believe me, I know how dangerous the Democrats are. The problem is, it's not up to me. This is Trump. If Trump cannot get the Republicans over the finish line in the midterms, that has nothing to do with podcasters, it has nothing to do with accelerationists, and it has everything to do with President Trump and the GOP. And ultimately, that's going to be the major measuring stick as to whether or not he's successful.
So I thought Owen's opening statement was good there. There's a lot. It was dense. There was a lot there, and there's a lot to unpack. There's a lot for them to get into. You can see Andrew making notes pretty vigorously here. And look, they get into the Iran stuff and the Epstein stuff a lot in the coming part. And from us, just now we're talking debate strategy. We're not talking about who's right and wrong. From a strategic point of view, if I were Andrew, I would not have allowed that framing to happen. It was almost like he was being really good faith with Owen here, and he knew that that's what people wanted to know about, that's what people wanted to hear. And he was also very confident in his own position when it came to Epstein, when it comes to Epstein, and when it comes to the lack of the validity and perhaps the hysteria around the Epstein stuff. And also, he was really confident about his position with the Iran war as well. And but mainly with the Epstein stuff, I was surprised how much of the debate was taken up by Epstein talk. But if I were him, I probably would have just tried to shift the framing of the debate and just go into domestic policy and Trump's big wins. So I was a little bit surprised that that happened, to be honest. But it did. So let's watch it. But first of all, of course, guys, Devin grifted 5 Rattlesnake TV memberships. What an absolute legend of a man. Appreciate that. And Tyler sent a 5 and said, Wild Andrew has a vast library of debates you can study, but still gets strawmanned all the time. Yeah, the straw man, the whole idea of a straw man in a debate is that it's not necessarily that the person doesn't understand your point of view. It's that the person sees your point of view, if they're a professional debater as well, and they're like, I don't really want to contend with that. I'm going to build something over here, something parallel that sort of similarly tangentially resembles what he said, and then attack that because that's much easier to attack.
Thank you very much for that 5-minute opening as well. We'll jump into the 5-minute rebuttals. The timer is set for you, Andrew.
Yeah, so this is just straight time, right?
You said straight time?
Yeah, so 5 minutes each?
Yep.
Okay, gotcha. So let's go through a bunch of this stuff. Let's start with the economy. He seems to be pretty upset about the economy and says that it's all Trump's fault. In some ways, he's correct, and in many ways, he's not correct. So progressives warned us of this, right? Progressives said, if you cut all this immigration, GDP go down. Why? Because they have an influx of cheap labor, right? You have cheap labor that comes in that artificially keeps the wages depressed for corporations. They can then sell you things and goods for cheaper. Pretty simple, right? So what does Trump do? Stops all this mass migration. Prices go up. I'm stunned. We were forewarned of this for years by the opposite side, by progressives. And so what's hilarious about this is that, yeah, it is in fact going to be the case that if American companies have to start paying fair wages to American citizens, prices are going to go up. But you can't have your cake and eat it too, Owen. You can't say, I want there to be no mass migration to the United States at all, and I want all of my goods and services cheap. It's not going to work that way. How can it? Can you explain to the audience what the Owen Shroyer policy would be to offset that? No, you can't, because you wouldn't have one. You're going to have to eat shit on that. One way or the other, you're going to have to. The other problem is, he says there's...
All right, so I don't know if he necessarily has to eat shit on that, because that is one aspect of the economy. When it comes to Donald Trump doing mass deportations, cheap labor gets removed, and then the companies are going to have to pay more, which means that cost is then going to be offset onto the consumer. The consumer is going to end up paying that cost. We're not going to have as cheaper goods and services. So I don't really think, like, Andrew is right about that, but it is one aspect of the economy. There are many different aspects to the economy as well, but I think they go into it more.
A war on the other side of the planet. That's true. There is. It's been going on for about 7 weeks. That's about it. 7 weeks.
So
that's our big, hang on, it's my rebuttal time. I won't interrupt yours, I promise. 7 weeks, not quite the forever war that we were...
People complaining a lot about Andrew's wrinkles in his shirt. Guys, the wrinkles in his shirt are nowhere near as offensive as the way he's rolled it up. What? Hold on a second.
What the hell is even that?
That's what's pissing me off and distracting me. The wrinkles, whatever, I can deal with wrinkles. But what is the inside wrap that we've got going on? Like, 2 folds up is what you need. 3/4 length, that is... I don't even know how he did that. Can somebody please explain to me how he even did that? It's an inside fold. Unbelievable. I have no idea how Rachel let him on stage like that. Anyways.
Promised from the other side. And it seems to be ramping down. Not only that, when it comes to that war, what we find is that most of the exports in oil are going from China. They're going to China. How does it not behoove the United States strategically to do something about that? Of course it does. And we can dive into that too in the open back and forth. Now, I'm not a big supporter of foreign wars, especially not in Iran. I'm not making any excuses for it. I'm just pointing out something which is obvious. He also says Elon Musk did Doge cuts. Were Democrats going to do Doge cuts? No. Trump made that promise, and that's exactly what they tried to do. He's been hamstrung at every level. This guy has.
So here's a quick point here. Lots of points here where Owen seems to be disenfranchised by over-promising, under-delivering. They said they were going to do this, they didn't do this. They lied, they said they were going to do that, they didn't do that. And look, that is fair because every single president where they're trying to get elected, this is the nature of democracy, guys. This is the nature of the 4-year cycle, democracy, the system that we all live in, all of us in the Western world. I know we've probably got a few people from Tajikistan or what have you in there. Sometimes we get random countries. I don't know how they made their way here, but they're here for some reason. But this is the nature of the system that we live in. You got to sell the dream or else you can't get elected. If you come out and say, listen, ladies and gentlemen, here's what we're going to do, okay? I'm going to try and elect people, but these bureaucrats, they might not... I'm going to try and deport people, but these bureaucrats, maybe not. And if I do this, I'm a bit concerned because there could be mass riots on the street, but I'm going to do my best to do it. We're probably not going to get the numbers that I'd like, but we'll see, okay? So that's what we're going to do. And then we're going to address the birth rates, the way that we're going to address the birth rates, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, all of these women that are about to start voting for me, we're going to take your rights to vote away and abortion, okay? We're going to take all of that away. Can't have a career unless you're married. I don't think that these things are going to be overly popular and win you a lot of votes. You know, if you really came out and just gave it straight between the eyes. Anyway.
3 times the amount of court cases against him as any other president does in the last 50 years. It's ridiculous. Democrats hamstring him at every corner. So as we go through this, let's talk about Epstein. That's another big one. With Epstein, you have to separate mythology, the actual mythology of Epstein, from the facts of Epstein. To hear the other side tell it, there is a global pedophilic satanic organization which runs the United States. The evidence they have for that? Fucking nothing. They have nothing. They have no evidence.
Now we're going to get into this in a big way, guys. Okay. There's a lot of claims being made here in regards to the Epstein thing. They debated a lot, so I'm not going to say too much right now, but there is a very key delineation and a distinction that needs to be made here about the claims, okay? What is Owen actually claiming when it comes to the Epstein stuff, and what is meant by evidence? Anyways, bookmark that.
Evidence whatsoever. Guarantee you he won't be able to provide us with any evidence for that. Not a single shred. Not only that, I'll tell you something really interesting. I do know of a satanic type religion of pedophiles, and right this second, Trump's blowing them up. Right this second, as we speak, he blew up their leadership. The Ayatollah Khomeini instituted child marriage, as young as 9 years old inside of Iran. And we're killing them overwhelming. You want to talk about pedophiles? Let's talk about pedophiles. Where are they at? I can tell you who we're blowing up right now who are pedophiles. That would be Trump blowing up pedophiles. That's what he's doing currently.
Okay, so here's a point that I think gets misunderstood a little bit, because oftentimes people will hear that and they'll think, well, Andrew is making the argument that the war in Iran is a good thing, or he's justifying it because Trump is blowing up these people who he considers to be pedophiles. And then obviously you get a litany of counter arguments against that. Well, there's more important things to worry about at home. There's plenty of pedophiles that are protected in the US government, plenty of pedophiles in Israel, etc. But I think it's more of an internal critique, this argument. He's more saying, all right, you guys are so worried about this Epstein stuff. Pedophiles, protecting pedophiles, protecting pedophiles. Well, shouldn't you be really happy that he's going and blowing up a bunch of pedophiles there? Now, obviously, it's not just them, because we know that when the Israelis are involved, and the way that Palantir has been targeting, it hasn't exactly been clean shots on the pedophiles, if you know what I mean, guys. We've had the schoolgirls murdered. I think that's verified. I might have to research that to my left here, but I'm pretty sure that's verified that there was a bunch of schoolgirls killed in a bombing. You got the daddy's home in Gaza as well. Sort of how they operate, the Palantir, the Israelis. The daddy's home thing is that they were targeting buildings where suspected Hamas operatives were going with their families. When daddy would get home, they would bomb them. So this is not beyond the pale when it comes to the way that they operate.
So it's really funny to me, the Epstein people, hey, wait a second, we're totally anti-pedophile. This is ridiculous. There's pedophiles at the top levels. They have no evidence for that. And yet, if we just look not too far away, we see that there's an entire nation of pedophiles. Do you mind doing trade with them? Right? Owen Shroyer recently said, I don't care why, or he said in his debate with Shabos, why is it that Iran is not allowed to have a nuke, but Israel is? What are you advocating for there? That a whole country full of pedophiles is allowed to have a nuclear bomb? Why should we allow that? It's ridiculous. Moving through some of these other problems, he says the problem's Republicans podcasting means nothing. When we're talking about Trump, especially in his second term, podcast meant everything. In fact, Kamala Harris said it herself. Joe Rogan. And the fact that Trump went on Joe Rogan really helped push him over the top. Harris regretted the fact she didn't do the syndicated radio shows. He didn't do the podcast circuit. She didn't do any of that. She regretted it. She said that she regretted it. She even blamed Myron Gaines, a podcaster, for parts of her loss. She blamed him and the evil manosphere, because they don't want women to be president, like somebody else who's on the stage right now. So as we go through this, I'm kind of happy. I'd like to get into the back and forth as quick as we can so that we can see if any of these criticisms actually hold muster. He says he's not addressing corruption. 15 seconds. Yeah, he's not addressing corruption head on. It's like, wait a second. What do you mean? He's going after the SPLC right this second, as we speak.
Yeah, I mean, people convinced in the chat here. There was no schoolgirls killed. Now, I wouldn't take any of these sources as gospel. I may as well show you guys what I'm looking up here. Wouldn't take any of these sources as gospel necessarily. But you do have the BBC reporting it. Deadly Iran schoolgirl attack. Criticized Pentagon for not acknowledging potential American involvement in a deadly schoolgirl attack. A missile hit a primary school in Manab during the opening salvos of the US-Israeli war on February 28, killing 168 people, including around 110 children, according to Iranian officials. Now, people will say, according to Iranian officials, that could be war propaganda. Human Rights Watch here. .org. Killing at least 175 people. I think this was a little bit after, including many children. Amnesty International killed over 100 children. So, for all the people in the chat saying it's definitely not, you just can't say that. You just can't definitively say that. So. Good Times Woodbear for 20 said, I think they got Owen. I think they got to Owen in jail. He looks like a magician now, and so does Alex Jones. WTF happened? A magician is. What do you mean a magician? I think he looks pretty fly. Jester comes out for 5 and says, one argument that didn't get made was that with a hostile legislate and judiciary, it's amazing that Trump gets anything done domestically. Yeah. It is a good argument. Beef Sleazy comes in with 20 and says, my biggest criticism of Andrew this debate is he would switch from giving Trump credit for low oil prices, but then blames speculators when they go up under him. But if they're high with Biden, it's Biden's fault, not the speculators. Okay, we'll listen out for that one. Let's see where the goal... Anything else over here on Stream Elements? Where's the goal at, guys? I haven't got the goal up. Where's me goal? Don't know goal. Here we go. All right, let's carry on.
Super corrupt organization, which was working with the deep state, by the way. Just pointing that out.
With that, we'll kick it over to Owen for his 5-minute rebuttal as well. Floor is all yours, Owen.
All right. Well, as far as when this war started, obviously there's a lot of contention in the geopolitical debate realm, but at least for this administration, it started last June with Operation Midnight Hammer. And since then, we haven't gotten a lick of honesty because we were supposed to have annihilated or obliterated, was the official word from the president, their nuclear capabilities. And then they came back a few months later and said Iran was weeks away, days away from a nuke. And so now we're over there again. And I think to most people, they perceive this war, I think accurately, as just another regime change war. Now, you may not care for Iran's leadership. You're not going to get any pushback from me on any of that. And yet the facts remain. This was a regime change war. They lied to us about it from the very beginning. There is a major contingency of Trump's voting base that voted for no new wars. It was part of the campaign promise. In fact, Trump himself, for decades, has been talking about how we've wasted blood and treasure in the Middle East, wasted it, his own words. He ran against Bush's wars in his first campaign in 2015 and 2016. And he even said specifically, no more regime change wars. So that's just a total reversal of policy on that. And this has people wondering who's making these decisions. I don't need to get into that now. But we're not even getting consistency on the messaging in the last couple of weeks. The strait is closed. It's not closed. We've won the war. The war is not over. We need to go in. Nobody really knows. And by the way, I think Trump does that strategically. But nonetheless, the truth is that we don't get any honesty from this administration. It just doesn't add up. And as far as the strategy with China and Russia, I'd like to think that this is all going to work out in our favor. I'd like to think that that's the play that Trump is making. However, it doesn't appear to be going in our favor. I think that most of the world is looking at the foreign policy of this administration and they're seeing it as very, very favorable to Israel, which is essentially a pariah of the entire international community. And so instead of perhaps these countries maybe driving away from Russia and China, I think they're driving to China and Russia and away from the United States.
I do think that this is a good point that Owen's got here in terms of the international community. I mean, it's kind of like saying the LGBTQIA plus community, if you're honest, because these are just not willing bedfellows, if you will. They're just very strange bedfellows. The international community just means a bunch of, dormant or latent powers that at the chance would be the empire. Okay? That's all that means. To think that Russia and China are going to be holding hands and singing Kumbaya if the American empire were to fall and then they would, share power. Give me a break. There's only one king in the kingdom. There's only one lion in the jungle. Okay? And there's just no chance that they wouldn't end up in a war against each other. They would, by the way. They would, if the US empire was to go down. They might be able to play nice now, but they wouldn't be playing nice if the US was to go down. But anyways, he's correct about this, that pretty much the rest of the world, bar a few countries, see Israel as a pariah state. Whole entire Middle East, Asians are kind of nothing burgers besides the Chinese, the Japanese, and the Koreans, to be honest. They're not really players. The Asians are just like, we just kind of wanted to get a little bit more money over here. We've been living in poverty forever. The Chinese dislike the Israelis, obviously. Japanese are a little bit more neutral, but they don't really matter, okay? The Western countries, the European countries, they all, we love Israel, whatever, but they're also globalist libs, a lot of them. The Germans and the French and the British and everyone. You know, they're all globalist libs, and they kind of don't really like the Israelis either. Middle East, obviously, they don't like them, even though they've made peace with some of them: Jordan, Egypt, Saudi Arabia, and the likes. Abraham Accords. There is peace there, peace, which means they're not killing each other right now. The only countries that I've seen that actually are like pretty staunchly Israel is like Serbia. Serbians tend to be pretty staunchly Israel. Can you guys think of any other ones that are actually pretty staunchly Israel? I can't really think of any besides. And Serbians aren't totally, but the Serbians tend to be pretty staunchly pro-Israeli. Yeah, trying to think of any. Maybe Polish.
Because of Trump's aggression, again, in the Middle East, as the world views it, on behalf of Israel. As far as the Dems, hamstringing Trump, I think that happened a lot in the first administration. I'm not really...
That's true. Javier Milei does love Israel, but the Argentinians are pretty lib, pretty lefty. I'd say that the approval rating or the fact that, or their like for Israel would be pretty low down.
Seeing as much of it in this administration, but
no one
this
cares
gets
what
back
India
to
thinks.
the deep state. I thought we were talking about criminals. I thought we were talking about the Obama administration committing treason. We were talking about them illegally spying. And yet now President Trump says, I'm okay to give up my liberties for safety. I'm okay with them illegally spying on you. That doesn't really sit well with me. And I think the Dems are going to look at that very favorably when we get to the midterms. Israel does have a nuke. It is against the...
Australia is largely, just quickly, pretty largely anti. I mean, you've got the boomers. It's pretty similar to America. The boomers, really pro-Zionist for some bizarre reason. But then otherwise, you've got the Protestant Christians over here that are kind of pro-Israel in some ways, but not really, guys.
Israel does have a nuke. It is it's a violation of the nuclear proliferation agreement. They're not supposed to have one. Everybody knows they have it. In fact, technically, they shouldn't even be our ally because they have a nuclear weapon, but somehow they're above all of these rules. Now, again, I'm not here to take any ground in defense of Iran, but I will point out the fact that Israel is famous for repatriating pedophiles. That is a fact. Everybody knows it. American pedophiles.
Really good point here by Joe says Germans are probably the most pro-Israel because it's a state responsibility. If you're a national socialist if you disagree. That's probably, that's a good point about Germany.
American pedophiles are able to flee to Israel and get safe harbor there. We have many, many instances of this. Now,
really good point there by Owen. We have instances of this, okay? And that is a pro-pedophilia policy that they've got there. That is your pedos can come here and reside here. You can come and escape the charges. Hey, come on, pedos. We will have you here. We'll look after you. That is a pro-pedophile policy.
Epstein files, I don't know how deep we want to go into this. This one is a little confusing to me. You say, show me evidence that there is a pedophile ring. Well, I would slap down on the table, not even 50% of the Epstein files. We don't even know how many we've gotten, but it's 50% max. There's not a single Iranian in the files, not a single one. Now, there is a certain group of people that are in there, but we don't need to get into that. But they all are rich, and they're not in prison, and that's where they should be. So I don't really want to have to think about Iran's cultural issues. These are Americans and people that were using them for blackmail to get leverage over our country. That's how most people perceive.
It's white pill, guys. It's white pilling to see a lot of people coming into the chat and have actually good takes on this. Good takes on both sides, by the way, but also just good takes like this one saying Andrew and Owen's rebuttals are so good. This is how pro-debaters argue. It was a great professional debate. And they both made good points.
Receive these Epstein files, of which we don't even have the entire files. But in them, we see references, what appear to be killing people, taking women, young women, babies as sex slaves. Who knows what else is going on in these files? There's very obvious code language. I know this. If I was able to get one of my kids' cell phones and I'm reading through this cell phone and they keep talking about pizza and grape soda and jerky, I'm going to pull one of them aside and I'm going to say, hey, what are you talking about? And if they say, oh, I'm just a pizza connoisseur, me and my friends just make beef jerky and eat grape soda, I'm going to say, bullshit. Tell me what the hell you're talking about. If I see you saying, I'm going to get pot from my friend, I know you're not talking about a potted plant. I know you're talking about drugs.
So really effective use of rhetoric there by Owen. Good analogy, and I thought that was a strong moment.
So it's obvious the same thing is going on in these emails. Where is the investigation? If your kid brought that to you, you would not believe them for 1 second. You'd say this is clearly code language and I'm going to investigate what it is. I think we should continue to investigate these Epstein files instead of continuing to cover them up, because I do think there is a there, as most other Americans do, and that's something that Trump campaigned on and many of his administration talked about for years.
And time. With that, we're going to jump into the crossfire. This is 40 minutes, so this is fully up to you guys. If it gets too rocky, I'm going to jump in and put it into 90-second responses. So the floor is yours, gentlemen, for open dialogue.
So I wanted to...
40 minutes may seem like a lot. It's not. Ashlyn sent 5 over on Stream Elements and said, I wake up and you're live. Thank you. Thank you for the 5, Ashlyn. Much appreciated. And where are we at here? 5 on Stream Elements, guys. That means we are 1% of the way to the goal on Stream Elements. And the link is pinned and everything, so...
Start, if we could, with Israeli repatriation of pedophiles. So you and I both agree that this happens and it's abhorrent. Do you know that what the numbers are, roughly?
The last story I read was a CBS story. It was a couple dozen, I think.
I think total that I could find, I was being as charitable to your view as I could, it's about 200. That's a lot. It's a significant amount. But it's nothing in comparison to the Catholic Church. Nothing. Which is somewhere around 100,000 children, perhaps, or more. When we talk about this idea of pedophilia here in the United States, Owen, this is my big issue with this, is that there's always a red herring, right? The red herring is, well, Israel repatriates pedophiles. It's like, yeah, that's true. So does the United States in a way, though. We have passport bros who they go to Malaysia, they have sex with underage kids, and then they come back here. It's the same exact principle applied. The only difference is there's no official right of return. There doesn't need to be. They're already U.S. citizens.
So, I mean, it would be different, though, with the passport bros if they had been convicted over in a different country of pedophilia and they were awaiting trial and America was like, no, come back. We'll repatriate you. That would be analogous. Otherwise, that just seems to me like a false analogy, the passport bros thing. Unless you can prove that they've done something. And then the Catholic Church thing as well. I see what he's saying there in the sense that Owen is a Catholic, I do believe. I think that they say that Owen's a Catholic here. Like, I see the point that he's making there, but Catholic Church isn't involved in the war, and also how much does the US government give the Catholic Church a bunch of money? I don't know. Maybe they do. Maybe there's some sort of grants that happen, or at least they don't pay taxes, but it's all right. 6 out of 10, that one.
When we're talking about this, we know where the groups of pedophiles are. We've known this for years. The Catholic Church, for instance, again, part of one of the largest pedophilic scandals in the world. Which church do you belong to again? Is it Catholic?
I have no qualms with what you're saying about the Catholic Church, whether I identify as one or not. So go ahead. I will sit here all day as a confirmed Catholic and ridicule their pedophilia.
Yeah, I'm just saying that when you use the red herring of the Israeli repatriation...
How is it a red herring if it's true?
Because, the red herring happens when
Didn't you admit it's hundreds?
When you say, hey, wait a second. Yeah, hundreds.
So it's a real thing. So it's not a red herring.
No, the red herring portion of it is when you obfuscate away from the arguments on the Epstein files as though there's a global cabal of pedophiles. I point out in Iran, there's an open cabal of pedophiles. You say, well, Israel harbors pedophiles too. It's like, no, they don't have official policy for pedophilia, dude.
Hold on a second. You just admitted you're talking about people that have been actually charged with crimes of pedophilia that Israel knowingly takes in.
They are very well aware. That's not in every instance.
So they are very well aware.
Sometimes it's suspected. One of the big key ones was an Australian case I'm sure you're familiar with. That was one of the big key ones, but it's not always the case that they're charged with anything. There are lots of them are just suspected of this.
There was just an IDF security official, Alexandrovich, who just got charged, caught in a bust, and he fled over there. He's gone.
Of course. But you're going to find...
give me a comparable story this year to the Catholic Church.
You can find the same thing.
Show me the Catholic Church. Show
yeah.
me the Catholic Church finding a pedophile and saying, come to the Catholic Church.
They moved them to other churches. What are you talking about? To allow them to continue to offend hundreds of thousands of cases.
So show me one name.
I'm supposed to remember every name of every bishop?
I just gave you one name in the last year. Tom Alexandrovich, IDF
Are
security
you denying
official,
that the Catholic
fled to Israel.
Church doesn't move around pedophiles?
No, I just said they do. I can talk about the Catholic Church all day long.
Then why are you
But we're
arguing
talking about the Trump administration dealing with the Epstein files. That's what we're talking about.
So as we're diving into the Epstein files.
So I thought that was an unnecessary tangent. The whole Catholic thing was not really actually germane to the point. I don't think I see what he's trying to do there with the analogy, but didn't really love the analogies. Israel does repatriate pedophiles. That is them saying that is a pro-pedophile policy. I mean, the scale of it, you can argue the scale. Well, they've got a few hundred, then Iran have thousands of members of government and everything who would be engaging in pedophilia and endorsing it in society. Sure.
Give me your biggest piece of proof that Donald Trump in any way knew about any pedophilia, and name actual names of people who you're willing to say are pedophiles in that administration. Go ahead.
Okay, I never made either one of those claims.
Exactly.
But I will respond to your question. Yeah. Howard Lutnick lied when he said he hadn't been to the island since he
Now we get into the Epstein stuff. This is where it gets very interesting.
Found out. He got caught lying. He took his family there. This was after Epstein had already been a convicted pedophile. Now, if Donald Trump wants to claim he has plausible deniability as far as Epstein's activities are concerned, I suppose that's fair enough.
Are you even claiming that guy's a pedophile?
Well, you know what? If you want to talk about the things Trump has said about his daughter,
answer the question
Ivanka,
before
we can
you
talk about it. We can talk about Donald Trump. Hold on a second.
Are you going to call that guy a pedophile?
Have I called Trump a pedophile once?
Well, this is why I'm getting clarification.
The answer is no.
The reason I'm getting clarification is because on the Epstein files, people refuse to separate mythology from fact. And there's a lot of mythology here. And this mythology that you guys continuously talk about, that Trump is in some way associated with this global cabal of satanic pedophiles, but you never name names, you never give evidence, your only evidence is they don't give us evidence. Why would you trust the evidence that these people give you anyway? Why would you even trust that anyway? You don't trust them, the evidence that they've given you so far. So why is it always the demand is like, I want endless evidence of a thing that we always make claims about, but can never demonstrate? Why?
So I think it's a pretty strong argument here. Not even an argument. It's just a strong cross-examination here. You want endless evidence for something, and then you don't really trust the people who are giving the evidence anyway. You do see this even with the war. It's like they want... I should see it a little bit different, actually. I was going to say in terms of the death tolls and everything, and then they never trust the source of the death tolls, so yeah. But yeah, if you don't trust the government anyway, and the deep state, that's where the evidence is coming from. It's the deep state, the government.
So Trump is obviously maybe mentioned more than anyone else in the files. If you want to claim that he has nothing to show illegal in the files, that's fine. Howard Lutnick, however, lied when he said he hadn't been there. He is still in the Trump administration. He was just running point for their meeting at the Oval Office just last week. And he's in the files taking his kids to Epstein Island. So would you take your kids to Epstein Island?
See, this is where it gets into murky territory, okay? This is where it gets into very murky territory. Because as soon as somebody starts to actually question the mythology that Andrew's talking about, because there is mythology, and guys, we're going to get into some of the evidence around the whole Epstein case. We're going to get into some of that soon. But there's also a lot of mythology. There are a lot of things that you say, guys, well, I'm connecting this dot and this dot. And I do this too. I connect dots and I say, well, it appears as though this paints the picture of there being some sort of a nefarious international ring happening. And it appears as though this paints the picture that they're doing something with children, that there could be some sort of organ harvesting going. The Canadian billionaires tend to do the same thing with this organ harvesting. That could be the jerky. We all play this game. I mean, if you've looked deep enough into the Epstein files. But at the end of the day, there is also a lot of mythology there.
Well, okay, so are you saying at the time there was media scrutiny that this was a pedophilic island?
Yes, 100%. 100%. Epstein had already been charged. He'd already been to jail.
Are you saying this guy took his kids to the island to get them raped?
I don't know what he took his kids to the island for.
He denied it.
He
By
denied it.
Also, it's important to mention here that Epstein was involved with a lot of different people. So this is... I'm sorry to say this to people who are really so deep in this Epstein thing. if you do think that any association, the name was in the files, the name bad, if the name was in the files, then they must be bad, then that is just an incredibly low IQ take to have. Even if they said the name was in the files X amount of times. Well, why were they in the files? In what context were they in the files? You know, we did a fun thing in chat one day where we were looking up all the members of chat to see if their names were in the files, and like half of them, their names were in the files. Obviously not referencing them particularly, but you know, Blaine was in the files, Miss D was in the files. But yeah, he had all sorts of things going on with scientific grants, and he represented the Rockefellers, and he was trying to work in new technology as well, and he was bridging that gap. So if someone went to his island with the family for a lunch or whatever it was, it could have been bad, but I'd need more evidence about that.
Again, by the way,
he denied
this again,
he lied.
Absence of evidence means that that's evidence. That's not evidence.
No.
Did Howard
Lutnick go to the island?
I'm not sure.
He admitted it. He's in the files.
Yeah,
he took his kids.
I'm not sure on that particular. But it's irrelevant, the particular, because even if I grant the particular, you won't actually call the guy a pedo because you don't have evidence. You never have evidence, just claims. Claim, no evidence for it. Now, I'm willing to cede a bunch of points to you. If you can show me some evidence of it, happy to do it.
So
Trump was, hang on, I'm almost done. Trump was
contending?
actually right. He claimed that the Democrats were going to use the talking point that Trump's a pedophile, Trump's covering for pedophiles, the whole 9 yards. He says, yeah, that's a hoax. Whole thing's a damn hoax. And it is. The whole damn thing is a hoax. They've been calling this guy a pedophile. You just said he's named in how many times is he named in the Epstein files? That's a Democrat talk.
So we have a good example of low IQ talking point here, guys. I'm going to bring them up as they come because these people will fleetingly come. And just be transiently in the chat. Didn't realize before Andrew told us that the Iran war is about destroying 90 million PDFs. Makes so much sense now. This is the sort of ooga booga window licker knuckle draggers that we were talking about before, okay? So this is clearly an internal critique, all right? If the point here is Epstein files, compromise, compromat, pedophiles, we must be against the pedophiles, and if Trump doesn't do this, then he's protecting them, right? Well, then the point is that, well, why don't you care about the PDFs over here? Wouldn't that be a good thing about all of these Ayatollahs? If PDFs are the worst thing ever and they have to be arrested and strung up in the street, fair enough, okay? Shouldn't you be kind of happy that that they're killing those ones as well? That's the internal critique. That's the argument. It's not saying, well, actually, the reason why Trump is going to war is because he wants to kill a bunch of Iranian people who married underage girls. That's not what's being said.
Talking point. But what's he named in the Epstein files for actually doing? What?
Well, there are FBI investigations that have some pretty serious claims. They never
not
manifested
credible.
anything.
They
That's
literally
fine.
say
That's
not
fine.
credible.
So we're not here to have a debate over the Epstein files. But I
brought it up as a reason he's a failure.
It odd. No, you are the one that brought it up. But I do find it odd that you're going to pretend like Howard Lutnick didn't lie about going to the island after Epstein was convicted and took his kids.
The point.
Are you going to tell me? Hold on a second.
It doesn't help your point.
Are you going to tell me that Donald Trump was not friends with Jeffrey Epstein?
He was initially friends with Jeffrey Epstein,
so
but he also banned him from his properties.
That's fine, and he might have helped bring him in.
Hang on, he banned him from his properties, and he was also front and center at pointing out to people that Epstein was a creep. That's one, and two, everything that's mentioned in the files, Michael.
Some strong historical evidence there for Trump. I mean, that is just undeniably, well, like other people, they don't really have that, but Trump on record saying that he's a weirdo and so is she back in the day. Trump on record severing business ties and kicking him out of Mar-a-Lago. It might have been over a business deal, but not really many people have that. When they're brought up in the Epstein files, they can't be like, yeah, here's the thing from however long ago where I'm telling the police he's a weirdo. And here's evidence that I had him banned from Mar-a-Lago. I didn't like the guy.
Tracy has done great work on this. He's gone through them ad nauseum.
So
the things which are put in there about Trump are ridiculous on their face. And the claims from various people about Trump are noted inside of these files most of the time as being not credible at all.
Here's what's credible. Alex Acosta is the one that cut Jeffrey Epstein his sweetheart deal. It was so bad of a deal that they had to re-examine it and rearrest Jeffrey Epstein and put him back in jail in New York City.
Which administration did that happen under?
Where he was ultimately killed.
Yeah, which administration did that happen under?
The Trump administration.
That's right. He got
which is actually starting to look a little more
administration.
suspicious. It's actually starting to look a little more suspicious now. Yeah.
How is that more suspicious? So
he died in jail.
What administration?
How did Acosta, he die in jail?
What administration did Acosta?
Trump's.
Was he in when he cut the deal?
He wasn't in office. Trump wasn't in office.
Yeah.
Acosta was.
I can't remember from this morning if this gets brought up in this debate, but there's such a strong argument here for Owen Shroyer, and it's the immunity clause in the 2007 trial, right? He might bring it up. I can't remember. But in the 2007 trial of Jeffrey Epstein, when he was tried for trafficking underage girls, prostitution of underage girls, and he was, found guilty. There was an immunity clause which meant that 4 people around him in his orbit were not able to be prosecuted. Okay, you couldn't go for co-conspirators, and in general, you couldn't go for co-conspirators. Now, why would they have this immunity clause in that prosecution if it didn't mean that there were others involved and there was some sort of a network here? Is this some sort of international pedophile satanic ring? I don't see the evidence for that. But co-conspirators, yeah, like Les Wexner funding the guy. It seems as though that was the case and that there were high-powered people being protected by the immunity clause in the 2007 trial. Why would that be a clause? They couldn't prosecute co-conspirators.
An attorney. Whose administration was that under?
Obama's.
Obama. So Obama, we have Acosta, goes ahead and gives him the sweetheart deal, right, under Obama. Under the Trump administration, they rearrest Jeffrey Epstein. Isn't that amazing? The guy protecting the pedophiles.
So the person that Trump brought into his administration is the one that cut Jeffrey Epstein a sweetheart deal that no pedophile, child sex trafficker has ever.
Bush, 2007, that wasn't it? Yeah.
Ever seen before in their life. Such a sweetheart deal, they had to rearrest him again.
Yeah, they have seen it before in their life. First of all, he wasn't even accused of pedophilia. What he was accused of was localized trafficking in Florida. And yes, people have been cut sweetheart deals for that. You're full of it.
Okay, so your stance is...
They have been cut sweetheart deals. That is true. He was a well-connected guy. But the immunity clause?
Your stance is Epstein was not a pedophile and there's nothing in the Epstein files? Because I don't want to debate this the whole time.
I didn't say that. My stance is that there's bold claims which are made, and I can see you running from it. I don't blame you for running from the claims.
This isn't the debate. I'm not
don't have evidence.
You're on a
Is it a failure of Trump's
This is
or not?
worse. Absolutely.
Well, then it's part of the debate.
There should be dozens of Epstein arrests.
It's part of the debate.
They are literally covering it up.
Tell me
exactly. They've redacted the names.
Who should we be arresting? Exactly.
I'd love
what does
to
that
know.
mean?
Why are
I hate to be the one to say this, guys, and I'm going to pull up definitions for the sake of this, but I have to get a little bit technical here, okay? The definition, I know we all colloquially know what people are talking about when they say pedophile, right? Someone who is banging under 18s. But a pedophile is an adult, typically age 16 or older, who has primary or exclusive sexual attraction to prepubescent children 13 or younger. Let me just make sure. Britannica. See what Britannica says. Psychological disorder affecting adults characterized by sexual interest in prepubescent children. Word for people who... I probably shouldn't do this just in case what comes up, guys. Hold on a sec. Oh, that's the wrong camera. Guys, I promise you, the studio is worth $20 million. Promise you it's worth 20 million, guys. Give me 1 sec. I'm going to get that fixed. Have attraction to 16, 17. Not children. Epiphilia. That's what it is. Yeah. It's not pedophile. That's a different thing. So I mean, who cares? It's the definition. Just getting the camera fixed. Hold on a sec. Who cares? We all know what they mean when they say it. So I wish that I could pronounce this word. Epiphilia. It's primary sexual interest in mate 15 to 19. Okay? Ephiphile. Ephibophile. So Epstein, by all reports, was an ephibophile. Okay? And so was Khomeini. Because Khomeini married a 15-year-old. I know, who cares? Tomato, tomato. But that's the technical definition. It's somebody who's prepubescent. So they were ephibophiles, okay? Blowing up a bunch of ephibophiles. Epiphile. No, there's a B in there, bro. There's a B in there. People saying it's epiphile. There's a B in there for sure. And then hebephilia is 11 to 14, apparently. I don't know, guys. This is getting too technical for me now. But technically, none of them were. But anyways, let's carry on.
All the names redacted from the files.
Because
Why haven't they
I'll
given
tell
us
you.
all the files?
I'll actually tell you. And if you had done your due diligence, you would know this.
Oh, because they're victims.
No.
And people get weird about this one. But why is it that everything else, when it comes to debates, we're like, well, define that. What does that mean? What is the exact definition of that? Let's pull up a definition. Except for this. Actually, you know what? That's a good point. Dustin Worthington says, Jake, they changed the law to marry 9-year-olds. Okay, well, they're actually pedophiles then. Dustin, you win. Not. The 9-year-old thing makes them legit pedophiles.
Because victims advocacy
Whereas
groups,
Epstein was an ebophile.
Groups and lawyers have tied this thing up like nobody's business. And again, Michael Tracy's done the research on this.
And no pedophiles go to jail.
Which pedophiles should go to jail?
The ones that they've redacted. So
what are their names?
So Epstein trafficked kids to no one.
No, Epstein was getting kids.
So
Ghislaine was trafficking kids to him.
Okay, so Epstein raped all the kids. No one else did.
Name a single person he trafficked a kid to.
They're all redacted from the files.
All right, so this is where it gets interesting, okay? Because so what Andrew's saying here, and this actually, the evidence does corroborate this. Andrew's a stickler for evidence, and look, fair enough, okay? When you're going to be making big claims like this, you'd want to have some really good evidence. He's saying that all we know, and Michael Tracy's gone over this ad nauseum, as Andrew said before, all we know at the moment, for sure, is that Ghislaine Maxwell was charged with trafficking, with sex trafficking, human trafficking, okay? And she was trafficking people to Jeffrey Epstein. He was charged with prostitution from a minor. And we know that these things happened at his homes in London and in New York. And I don't know if he was charged with anything from the island, but definitely the London and the New York homes. Definitely the New York home anyway. And Ghislaine Maxwell was charged as such to Jeffrey Epstein. When Jeffrey Epstein was charged, they had the clause in there, okay? The co-conspirators clause, where you couldn't charge any co-conspirators. A lot of these alleged victims, these ladies, most of them Jane Does, testified that Epstein and Maxwell had trafficked them to other people. To Prince Andrew came up, also to Alan Dershowitz, but then eventually Virginia Giuffre said that she lied about that. She said that she might have mistaken him, which discredits her a lot when she's talking about the people that she was trafficked to. Virginia Giuffre also said that she was trafficked to Prince Andrew. How credible that is, we don't know. But here's the dots that people are connecting about this, okay? Maxwell, international sex trafficking, or just sex trafficking to Jeffrey Epstein of women who are underage. There's a clause in there that says the co-conspirators cannot be charged. You cannot go after them. Why would that be? There are various different women who have come forward and who have said, I was trafficked to X and Y. Some of them Jane Does, some of them not, testified against these people. Nobody has been arrested for it as such. There was one guy who was accused, and he was in France. I can't remember what his name was, Jean something or other. Somebody will tell me who knows this better than me. He was accused, and then he was arrested in France, but not in the US. He was arrested in France for rape, so a separate charge. And then he also died of suicide in a French prison. Interestingly enough, they all just can't cope. They can't take it. So these are the dots that people are connecting. Whereas Andrew and Michael Tracy and the likes, they're coming from the place of essentially saying, well, there's no smoking gun evidence. But what I would counter that is that this is the way that intelligence operations are meant to work. It's meant to be vague. It's meant to be patchy. It's meant to be spotty. You're not meant to be able to put all the pieces together. They cover their tracks pretty well. They have connections everywhere in high places in government. The documents are meant to be redacted. There's meant to be a sweetheart deal where you can't prosecute co-conspirators. So if you're looking for a smoking gun for a potential large intelligence operation where you can put all the dots together perfectly and form a perfect picture, you may never get that.
What are you talking about?
files don't even indicate
you
that.
You can see in the emails, he says, I have girls. How old do you want them? I have girls. I don't like yellow. I want Russian. That's all right there.
That's not him. There's nothing to do with pedophilia. As far as you know, show me some evidence.
As far as you know, it does.
Wait a second. Absence of evidence is not evidence. Do you agree with that?
No, I'm using your logic against you. If you're saying
my
it
logic
doesn't
works
prove
for
anything,
me and not for you.
Okay, so I'll accept this because I don't want to debate. So Epstein was not a pedophile. He was not trafficking children, anybody. He was not.
Jean-Luc Brunel was the guy's name, guys. Jean-Luc Brunel. Let's see, just quickly get this article up for you guys so you can have a look as well. I mean, after a while, I may not have a smoking gun where I could say, yep, 100% this, but Jean-Luc Brunel, Epstein associate here, you can see the guy found dead in a Paris prison cell. French modeling agent and close associate of the late US financier and sex offender Jeffrey Epstein has been found dead in a prison cell in Paris. Jean-Luc Brunel was found hanged in his cell in La Sainte prison at 1 a.m. on Saturday, prosecutors told the BBC. The 76-year-old had been held for over a year. He was investigated on suspicion of the rape of minors and trafficking of minors for sexual exploitation. Brunel denied any wrongdoing. The lawyer said he'd been crushed by allegations, blamed media judicial system. He co-founded French modeling agency Karen Models in 1977, MC2 Model Management in the US with funding from Epstein. Also found dead.
Friends with Trump. They're not covering up Epstein. They're not covering up the files.
I'm willing to see the distinction between the mythology of Epstein trafficking children to all of these various pedophiles is a mythology. I'm also willing to see that Epstein himself may very well have been a pedophile, but it seemed like the trafficking was going to him. And
if we're using the pedophile in the colloquial sense, anyone under 18, yes. But I do actually think it's kind of important, even though it is a joke. In a way, it's kind of a meme, looking up the definition and everything, but it is kind of important, okay? Because a lot of the things that people are saying about the Epstein case is that, well, there were children, they were eating children, and there were children being trafficked. Like prepubescent children. And if that were the case, then yeah, like what the fuck? But if it's 16, 17-year-old women who are coming over from like Ukraine or whatever it is, then that's just objectively a different thing. That's just a different conversation. Obviously, that's a different conversation, and people can be indignant about that, but it is a different conversation that you're having there. If it's a bunch of rich guys who have 16, 17-year-old escorts, and they're in some state where it's legal, because in one state it's legal, in one state it's illegal, just based on consent laws and everything. That's obviously a different conversation that you're having here. Anyway.
You have no proof to the alternative of that. And even when you point at Acosta,
so what is
this happens under Obama.
I think the youngest guys in the Epstein thing is 13. I think the youngest, 13 or 14 was the youngest girl who came forward and said that that she was a victim in the Epstein case. However, apparently there's a lot of child exploitation material found by on Epstein in the Epstein files, but obviously they have to redact that. So we don't really know.
Arrested under Trump. Trump's the only one who released any Epstein files at all, signed in the Epstein Transparency Act.
Yeah,
Congress
after they
it.
redacted them for weeks, they still haven't
Because of
released everything.
victims.
They still haven't released everything, by the way.
How would Trump unredact them? Can you explain that to me?
Well, they shouldn't be redacted at all.
Yeah, but how would Trump unredact them?
Well, it's actually pretty easy. I think he calls them and says, hey, unredact these
No, that's the judicial branch. That's a different branch of government.
And he can call them and tell them
Trump's
to do
allowed
that.
to do that with classified documents. Not allowed to do that with redactions. Those redactions are going through the judiciary. So what should Trump do here?
He can easily declassify. He can easily release everything.
They're not classified. They're redacted.
Then why aren't they released?
He did release them.
Not
he
all
released
of them.
millions of documents.
Not all of them.
And not only that, again, how would he get them unredacted? Tell me.
Not even all of them. They're
Tell
not
me
even
how
all
he would
released.
get them unredacted. How?
It's very simple. You bring out the investigators and you simply read the names that are redacted. That's all you got to do.
You mean like they did in front of a press club and those poor guys who weren't actually pedophiles got calls and threats and everything else?
That happened to one guy.
Yeah,
that
but
happened
I mean,
to one guy.
that's reading the names of people who aren't even related to it.
Okay,
And this is the problem,
so
man.
this is good. So you're satisfied with the Epstein files?
I didn't say
So Owen has appeals to emotion here. I think that this part here, we have to separate two things, guys. We have to separate who's winning the debate and who we think is right, because those are two different things. I am 70% in the Owen camp here in terms of who I think is who I would side with. In terms of from my own research about the Epstein stuff and all of the dots that I've connected, I think it's logical to be able to connect the dots to say, well, she was charged with trafficking. Epstein was charged with sexual exploitation of minors. There were all of these different intelligence operatives all around Jeffrey Epstein. He clearly had all of these intelligence connections everywhere. They had a clause in the Sweetheart deal in 2007 that said, well, any co-conspirators of sex trafficking of minors couldn't be prosecuted. Why would they have that? I think that the reason why they have that is because there are co-conspirators. And so this would point toward some sort of network that he's got. And then you've got the Black Book, where people from all walks from billionaires from all different countries and from all around the world and from all different industries and everything are coming to his island. He's got all of these intelligence connections everywhere. Sex trafficking, intelligence connections. There's no smoking gun, but I think that it's actually pretty logical to connect those dots and to say there's something extremely serious going on here, and this could be some sort of an international sex compromise organization that he's got going on here. And he could be working on the behalf of Israel. And maybe someone else as well, but it seems like he had very strong connections to Israel.
Satisfied, but I'm pointing out that I'm not willing to make...
But anyway, sorry. I only made half the point. So I would agree with him in many regards there. I don't think... Obviously, in a court of law, you need the smoking gun, but we're not in a court of law. I can have this opinion and not have a 100% totally fleshed out worldview. I don't think I'm meant to. I don't think I ever will, because I don't think I'm ever going to get to the bottom of some large intelligence operation. But I have my suspicions, and this is what I think. I'm over this side more. But Andrew is unequivocally, undoubtedly winning this part of the debate. And you have to try and separate your emotions and how you feel about it from who is winning the debate. He's interrogating Owen's worldview. He's asking him for evidence about all of these different claims. And Owen is reacting emotionally and just saying, well, so what you think that there's nothing. That's not an argument. It's not a good response. So this portion of the debate, in my opinion, emphatically goes to Andrew. Owen started off really strong.
To make claims that Donald Trump's a bad guy based on redactions that he's not responsible for. You can't tell me how he should unredact them. You can't tell me
it's
who
very
the,
simple.
who
I want
the
all the
victims are.
files.
You
Show
can't
me
tell me
all
any
the
of
files.
this.
What do you mean the victims go in front of Congress every freaking day?
I only want to jump in just because, given that we have only 40 minutes for the open dialogue, though it's been epic so far. I just want to be sure if there are other topics you want to cover. We have 28 minutes left.
I would say,
Can we move on to the economy?
The Epstein files is a debacle and a disaster for
The
President
releasing
Trump.
of the Epstein files was a debacle. I agree.
Yes, it was. It was a disaster. Now, guys, I will say, it's been how long since Beef Sleazy sent a super chat? And An hour and a half through, ladies and gentlemen. It is nearly 10 p.m. over here, doing a late night stream. I need my palms greased. We are absolutely nowhere near the Stream Elements goal. Super Chat is just, whew. I know in this economy, guys, we're about to talk about the economy here. In this economy, if you can't afford it, then obviously don't. But the money havers, if you are in the chat, now would be the time. Only if the money havers are in the chat. If you can't, don't. But you know what I mean?
With that, the problem is that what I'll never accept is lack of evidence being evidence of a thing. And while you pretend that there's a global pedophilic ring that you have no evidence of controlling the United States, I can show you a global pedophilic ring which exists right out in the open that Trump's blowing up right now.
So Epstein didn't put a bunch of security cameras in all of his places. That didn't happen. He wasn't working with Maxwell, the daughter of the top
Yes,
Israeli
he worked
spy.
with Ghislaine Maxwell. Yes, there were security cameras in his various places. All of that is correct. That's, again, asking questions, not providing evidence.
So what does he do that for?
Wait, there's cameras.
Yeah, so once again, Owen needs to come up with some points here, okay? There are good arguments for this sort of stuff.
Cameras in his various places. All of that is correct. That's, again, asking questions, not providing evidence.
So what does he do that for?
Wait, there's
Honestly, this is such a weak argument. Like Owen and everything, but far out, guys. This is weak. Well, why is there cameras? Well, find me billionaires and their luxury estates, and they're going to be absolutely littered with cameras everywhere.
There's cameras here. What's that evidence?
This is an event. This is a televised event.
Yeah, but what's that? What's the evidence of?
Who is Epstein televising what's going on in his room?
He wasn't televising anybody. Got any proof?
So why are there cameras installed?
Because the same reason rich people have cameras all over their houses.
So he has them in all of his bedroom secret cameras?
What secret cameras? Can you show them?
Yeah, they're in the emails. He literally hired IDF security people to put secret cameras in all of his rooms.
No.
He had a damn security room with monitors in his mansions.
Yeah, you're talking about one specific instance in one specific room, by the way, not on all of his properties and not in the Florida properties. And those are the ones where he got convicted of all these things. So what are you talking about? You're talking about a completely unrelated thing to what I'm asking you. Do you have evidence that Trump was part of a global...
So the cameras thing, unnecessary tangent. I mean, I think that they can both just agree billionaires are going to have cameras in their estates everywhere. If I was a billionaire, there would literally be nowhere where I wouldn't have cameras, especially if I've got women around. False allegations be coming your way thick and fast if you're out there like Jeffrey Epstein on your island with these chicks around everywhere.
Pedophilic ring, or that anybody was.
Yes.
Okay,
absolutely.
Give me your best piece.
The Epstein files.
Best piece in the Epstein files.
The whole freaking thing. What are you talking about?
Nothing.
Okay, so hold on. So was Epstein convicted?
Not of pedophilia.
Yes,
he was. Oh, well, trafficking underage for prostitution.
Was.
Okay, who?
Was Maxwell convicted?
I'm sorry.
Was Maxwell convicted?
I'm sorry. When was Jeffrey Epstein convicted of pedophilia?
Epstein, jail. Maxwell,
when
jail.
Was Epstein
Jean-Luc
convicted
Brunel,
of pedophilia?
Jail.
When was
Two of them committed suicide
when was Epstein
in jail.
Convicted of pedophilia?
I think whatever the first charge was, 2007 in Florida.
That's not. He wasn't convicted for pedophilia. That wasn't
Trafficking
pedophilia.
children isn't pedophilia.
First of all,
so now you're saying Epstein wasn't a pedophile?
He was doing underage. There was one or two of the underage prostitutes that came from the school. That's true. But I think
that's underage.
I think they were 16, 17, not prepubescent children. It's a whole different ballgame. He wasn't convicted of pedophilia.
Okay. So Epstein wasn't a pedophile.
Now I'm thinking that Andrew does have the definitions right here. Because he's talking about the Iranians who are doing state-sponsored marriage of 9-year-olds. And he's saying that Epstein wasn't convicted of pedophilia, because I thought that they were using the term loosely, but I think he's actually using the term correctly here. Because he's right about that. He was soliciting minors for prostitution and soliciting prostitution. Minors is different to pedophilia. So he wasn't convicted of pedophilia, but Owen is right in the sense that he was soliciting minors for prostitution. I think that they were 16, 17.
Pedophile. Glad we got there.
I didn't say Epstein wasn't a pedophile. I said you haven't given us any proof he is. Got some?
There's no proof Epstein wasn't a pedophile.
Oh, I'm going to use an argument from incredulity.
He killed himself in jail. Nothing to see here. And we should probably pardon Maxwell, too, at this rate.
I'm totally incredulous, but I have no evidence of my claims.
Just because
That is exactly what happened here, guys. No matter what side of the debate you sit on, you just have to simply acknowledge the facts of the matter here. And the facts of the matter are as following. That is just an argument from incredulity. That is all that is. Argument from incredulity. Oh, I'm incredulous about this. I'm indignant. Not a good argument. Owen should have had better points there. And he should have been able to hone in on things more. Andrew got him on the semantics there, the pedophilia thing. He should have been like, hold on a second. Well, what do you mean by that? Give me your definition. What do you mean he wasn't charged? And Andrew said, well, it's prepubescent girls. He was charged with something else. And then Owen could have, but I just thought that the last 10 minutes or so there, Owen was just appeals to emotion, and it was just incredulity there. He was just indignant about things. It wasn't strong.
The economy is another topic we might want to cover still while we have time. We do still have about 25 minutes.
Anyway, so I try to operate off a facts basis. What happened, I'll just sum this up real quick, and then I'll give you the last word on it, to be fair. I'll just summarize it very quickly on Epstein. Epstein very well could have been a pedophile and likely was himself a pedophile. But when you make these claims about demonic global pedophile rings which control the United States, I want some fucking evidence. I do. And I'm not willing to throw the President of the United States that I voted for under the bus without any evidence. I'm not. So, if you want to tie it off, you can.
Well, I'll just say we also saw in the Democrat email.
Yeah. Totally fair point. Yep, it's a totally fair point.
Spirit cookings and children in the hot tub for entertainment. But there's no evidence of pedophile rings. Or
You're talking about Podesta spirit cooking?
I'm sure
the big art project spirit cooking?
Podesta, that's right.
Yes, Leon Podesta, who was part of a massive art project for spirit cooking, along with, how about we talk about Rocket Pizza? Did they have babies underneath there, Owen? Did they have children in the basement, Owen?
Good opportunity to go into the economy.
Yeah, all right. So, moving into this, I just got a single question for you. Owen, how would eliminating mass migration into a net negative not cause economic downturn or higher prices? How's that even possible?
Well, it's actually, there's a simpler fix to that, and that is you have to cut taxes. You have to cut them significantly. You have to cut them immediately. Americans are paying roughly 30% of the money that they make plus the property that they own. That number needs to be single digits tops. And a lot of Americans will have a little more money to take care of their bills and take care of their family. But we're not really having that happen. Now, I feel like this whole argument is assuming that Americans don't want these jobs.
No, it's assuming they do. In fact, my argument to you is just, I'll simply state it. If it's the case that we bring in, 100,000 immigrants tomorrow to California, let's say, okay, and they're willing to take $10 an hour less than the Americans who are there, would you agree with me that that'll probably save you prices in goods and services from whatever that corporation is or company?
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, probably. So like if you took McDonald's and you paid them $25 an hour, your cheeseburger's going to get more expensive. You agree with that? So you can offset that with immigrant labor. Do you agree that that's likely true?
Yes, but I don't believe that's the solution.
I agree with you. But if it is in fact the case that Trump is doing his job, which it seems like he is since we have negative net migration, why wouldn't it be the case that if we're deporting all of these illegals and they're self-deporting at an overwhelming rate, of course your localized food prices are going to go up because most of these jobs are now going to Americans. In fact, this is exactly what Cato is saying. They're saying we're getting hurt mostly in the economy because Trump is not even letting legal immigrants come in. I thought that was what we wanted, man. We want to stop that legal and illegal immigration. But it's like, not if your fried chicken's going to go up 30 cents. What are you talking about? We want that, right?
Well,
just debate perspectives here. Both gentlemen today have used very effective forms of rhetoric. Andrew, obviously, very, very good at this. Owen was much better at the start, I felt like. When he became incredulous in the last section there, he looked flustered, and you could tell by his body language, the sipping of the water, the holding of the desk, all of these sorts of things, that he was sort of up shit creek without a paddle a little bit. He was doggy paddling a little bit, But at the start, he was using very effective rhetoric as well. But Andrew seems to be much more comfortable as the debate goes on. I literally can't even remember. I listened to this on 3x speed this morning, and I can't even remember what happens after this, but let's see.
Deportation numbers are not where they need to be. I don't know how much that falls into the economic realm of things. Obama deported more people than Trump, so we're not.
There was a lot more
numbers.
people to deport.
But I think that there's other reasons for that. I think that this gets into the, let's say, failures at the Department of Justice, which maybe they're just starting to get into with the SPLC, but I don't know. We'll see about that if we come back to that. We're being told as Americans, hey, buck up and pay more for gas. It's this war in Iran. You've got to buck up. It's your patriotic duty to pay more for gas. That is a war that's being fought in the foreign and special interests. Do you think Americans might be willing, instead of paying another extra $1 per gallon of gasoline, maybe an extra 10 cents for a cheeseburger if they know that means Americans are taking the job? I mean, that's essentially what we're being asked.
But most Americans don't know that, because even people on my side are running around saying Trump's not deporting enough people, even though we have a net negative in migration right now. Those jobs,
we do have a closed border.
Hang on, those jobs, yes, a closed border and net negative migration, legal and illegal. More people are leaving than coming. That's for the first time we finally got that. It's like, yeah, prices are going to go up from that. You know this. Why not be honest with people? If that's the case, and then we talk about gas. Hang on, I'm almost done.
Prices went up from tariffs.
Okay.
Prices went up from
You want to
energy.
get into tariffs? We can do that in a second, but let's start with the gas prices. All you're doing is pitting Trump against Trump. On the Biden level, at his top, do you know what the gas prices were?
About right where they're at now?
Nope. Way more. They were over $5.50. Yeah, they're $1 cheaper right now at the peak of Trump than they were at the peak of Biden. So you're only comparing Trump's gas prices to Trump's gas prices. Because if you compare them to the Democrat, they were still way higher. I mean, way higher. Now,
I'd be interested to know the median, as in the average. Maybe
when did the price go up?
Trump speculation mostly.
No. When did the price go up?
Oh, I thought you said why did the price go up?
When did
the price has been going up steadily and decreasing
since we
steadily.
attacked Iran.
Yes, correct. Due to what? Market speculation. And you can't control speculators, and neither can Trump. It's not because we have some supply shortage of oil. Where's our shortage? Nowhere. We're not getting oil from Iran. We don't even have the processors for their oil. That goes to China. So we have no shortage, but our oil prices go up. Why? Because of speculation.
So, during their first term and Joe Biden's first term, only term, Trump's was 257, Biden's was 360. So I'll have to look at this one.
And you just completely omit that. Not only do you omit that, but you omit this other part, which is you still haven't explained how it is that we're going to have net negative migration and prices aren't going to go up. They
Trump,
are,
hold
right?
on a second. Trump is the one that claimed that he could get gas prices down.
He did.
He's the one that made that claim.
And
it
he
hasn't
did.
happened.
They're lower than Biden's peak by $1.
No.
Yes.
Okay, but we don't even know if we've seen Trump's peak. If this war in Iran doesn't end,
you can't just say, well, I'm incredulous, they may go up more. They're actually going down. They've been going down steadily.
Gas prices are going down?
Yes, they're going to be going down, yes. And speculators, by the way, are speculating that, which is why they're going to be going down. Interestingly enough, when we're talking about oil prices, though, and gas prices, yes, at Biden's peak, they were $1 more than they are the national.
Yeah. Look, I would say that Owen had a stronger argument here if he would have pushed this a little bit further, in the sense that the preconditions are there for the gas prices to go up. He's not just saying, well, I think that they might. No, there's actually like an international war happening. Straits of Hormuz, obviously being closed. How much this affects America? I think America is one of the lesser affected places in the world, but other places, I mean, Japan, South Korea, totally cooked. Eastern Asia, cooked. Australia could be pretty bad. I've heard that America had a last shipment of something or other. It takes about 3 months, guys, for the barrels to reach their respective destinations, as in from when the oil is pulled out of the ground to when it goes to the refineries to when it goes to its destination. It's a long process. These ships taking it all across the world. So it's all speculation at the start, but then after about 3 months or so, that's when you start to see the real effects of what's happening.
Average right this second as we're talking. I even made sure this morning before we came in, just to be sure. And yes, that is in fact the case. So it's like you're only comparing Trump to Trump, and even with him blowing the shit out of pedophiles in Iran, like the Ayatollah Khomeini, he still managed to give you $1 cheaper gas than Joe Biden did.
But you just said it wasn't Trump. You just said it was the speculators. Now you're giving credit to Trump. So I don't know what, I'd like a little consistency.
Okay, so wait a second. So you're going to blame it on Trump instead of the speculators. But when I say even under those circumstances, it's $1 cheaper, that can't be because of Trump.
Let's be clear. No. Here's my
I
metric.
want the consistency.
Here's my metric.
Yeah.
Trump said on his campaign he would get gas prices down.
He did.
He hasn't done it.
Yes, he has.
He's even admitted that we had to take a detour off of America First to do this war. He said it's over. It's not a war. It is a war.
Has gotten
We've won
the gas
war, but
prices
still,
down.
Gas
What are you
prices have
talking
gone
about?
up since we started the war.
Yes,
So,
gas prices went up when we started the war due to market speculation.
so Trump started
I
a war,
agree.
and now gas prices are higher. That's
yeah,
the fact.
but you're only comparing Trump to Trump. And if you're going to compare him to
I'm
Biden,
comparing,
gas is
Trump,
still
I'm
cheaper
comparing
than the
this
Democrats.
administration to this administration.
Exactly.
Gas prices have gone up since he started this war.
Yes, and if you follow Trump's plan, gas prices are likely going to bottom out because he has control of over oil there.
That's a nice
control
hope.
over oil in Venezuela.
That's a nice hope.
He has control over all of it.
Venezuela oil won't be ready for probably months.
But
though.
we still have control of it. What did I say? In the future, it'll go down.
We'll see.
Why?
I hope
The
that's the
speculators
case.
say
I hope
same
that's the
thing.
case. But that's not the case right now. And Americans are struggling financially. And now here we are in another war in the Middle East, and we're sick of it.
Are you going to
We're
blame?
sick of it.
Are you going to blame market speculators?
I'm going to blame Trump for getting us into another war on Israel's behalf. Yes, I am going to blame Trump for that. He did that.
So help me out here. Can you tell me all of the downsides of Donald Trump killing pedophiles in the Middle East?
First of all, do you know every single person? Were those schoolgirls pedophiles?
It's institutionalized in the Iranian
No. Were the 200 schoolgirls pedophiles?
We want to make sure that they're alive so they can get raped. But that aside, no, of course not. But there's going to be deaths inside of a war.
Okay, so it is a war.
Yeah, I didn't say it wasn't a war.
Does he need
I'm not going
congressional
to quibble
approval?
over the word, even though there's no ground invasion, there's no boots on the ground, there's none of that. I just want to know, how is the global interest served? You're so concerned about pedophiles. He killed one of the most major ones who's ever existed since the late 1970s.
Well, he was friends with Epstein.
He put it
who's probably
inside of
bigger,
the
but-
Constitution of Iran that you can marry 9-year-old girls, dude. And by the way, Khomeini,
That's good.
Khomeini,
So-
hang on, almost done. Khomeini was married to a 15-year-old. Perhaps by the lunar cycle could have been 14. His son was married to a 14 or 15-year-old. A lot of his high command were married to children as well. Trump killed all of them without a single boot on the ground.
Great. And I'm sure after we've killed thousands of Iranians, including young schoolgirls and the entire
Pedophiles.
family, I'm sure that the Iranians are going to be less radicalized because of that. So I'm not
Radicalized? What do you mean? How do you get more radicalized
than
than marrying children, dude?
What do you think they're going to
What are
stop?
you talking about?
You think they're going to stop?
No, well, I'm just saying, how do you get more radical? You're like, oh, the Iranians are going to get.
I mean, ISIS, yeah, that's how you get more radicalized. And say what you want about ISIS, but I mean, yeah, you can get more radicalized for sure.
More radicalized than marrying kids?
Well,
like,
let's
all
see,
the
how many
United
times-
States blowing up the
Hold on.
pedophiles is going to
Hold
really
on,
make
hold on.
them
How many countries has Iran been bombing this year?
Well, Iran is a state sponsor of terrorism. You agree with
And
that?
is Israel a state sponsor of terrorism?
I think that Israel's done many terrorist
Is
actions.
America a state sponsor of terrorism?
I don't think that America generally is a state sponsor of terrorism.
Okay,
no.
well, in the Obama administration, it's very well known we were arming moderate rebels that turned into
In
ISIS
American
and turned
interests,
into
yes,
ISIL.
that's correct.
So America backs these proxy groups. The CIA backs these proxy
But that
groups
was
all
due to
over the
Bush
planet.
doctrine. Most of
And
that
now
was due
Trump
to-
isn't. Now Trump is Bush.
Trump has where's the forever war?
We're in the Middle East.
Not a single boot on the ground.
We've been in the Middle East the majority of Trump's administration.
Is there a single boot on the ground in Iran?
We have been at a war
Answer
in
the question,
Iran
bro.
since.
Is there a single boot
Yes.
on? Okay, where?
That's like
where?
all over the Middle East. We've got boots on the
No,
ground.
in
all over.
Iran.
We've
In
got
Iran.
boots on the ground.
Where's our
in the
invasionary
strait?
force?
We got people in the strait. We're talking about going to Karg Island.
Oh, we had 7,000 people there, and now there's 10,000 people there. Where's the big invasionary force to take over Iran?
So
Where's
okay, fine.
it at?
I'll tell you what.
Where's
if,
that?
If they do go into Iran, what will you say?
Yeah.
Then?
Well, at that point, I'm done.
Okay, fair enough.
It is the case.
Fair enough.
I've drawn the line for myself that.
Little prediction here, guys. I don't know when, but I do predict that Andrew and potentially others might have to actually contend with that eventually within the next few months. That there could potentially be boots on the grounds. I think that they're hedging their bets. I think it's reasonable hedging their bets that won't happen because with the blockade that they've put on the Iranians and just with the sheer might of the US military, just completely obliterating the Iranians, that eventually the regime will fall and it will happen from within rather than them actually getting boots on the ground. That's what they're hoping for, I believe, or predicting will happen rather than hoping for. That the pressure will be too much and that eventually the people will have had enough and form some form of internal revolution. But I think maybe 60-40 that there will be boots on the ground. I think that there will be. And then it'll be interesting to see the arguments after that if people stick to it. If people actually do say, all right, cool, that's my red line, I'm out.
If there's a ground invasion in Iran, that would be a continuation.
What about casualties?
Hang on. That would be a continuation of the Bush policies.
What about casualties?
Hang on. Let me finish the point, and I'll get to casualties too. If it's the case that there's a mass ground invasion of Iran, then yeah, I would have to pull support then, because that would be a continuation of Bush forever war doctrine. However, limited strikes like what we saw in Venezuela, or 6 to 8 weeks, which is what we're seeing right now, that's not enough to pull my support from this president, especially with all of his success in domestic policy. Even if I grant you, and I'm not a fan of the war, I'm not an advocate of it, but even if I grant it that it's the worst thing he could have possibly done, it's not going to change the fact he's been a successful president. His domestic policies alone in eliminating crime and mass migration and being a net negative, that's what people wanted more than anything. It wasn't just the forever wars, it was the mass migration. That's what Trump always harped on. And he's been after it and after it and after it. And he did deploy the National Guard to protect these various centers in these cities. While ICE was removing these people from the nation, Democrats did everything that they could do to stop him, including court cases, terrorism against them, and everything else in between. So it's like, all of those show me that the guy's very successful, even if I grant it to you how bad Iran is.
Well, I think that they made a major blunder on the deportations, because now they're basically stopping them. They should have gone after the Democrats first. Quite frankly, they should have been arresting Democrats for treason. Alejandro Mayorkas should have been the first arrest. He should have been hauled in front of Congress. And you're a little too late going after the SPLC, in my opinion, which is now being, funny enough, it's actually being directed at the right. They're now using this SPLC thing to claim that anybody that's a dissident on the right is paid for by leftists and needs to be censored. That seems to be the theme with that. But they should have gone after all of these groups right out of the gate, Andrew. They should have gone after all the Catholic charity groups, all the Jewish charity groups, all these groups all along the Rio Grande, all of these groups on the southern border, all the Democrats that brought them in, all the Biden administration that brought them in. All of them should have been hauled to jail.
Yeah,
and they weren't.
Except they have due process, Owen.
And what process have they started?
So hang on.
They haven't even started the process.
So how do you know the SPLC?
Because there's no results.
Tell me, how long were you aware of the SPLC investigation?
What are the charges? They're all financial crimes.
Hang on, let's walk through this. When were you aware of the SPLC investigation? When they released it, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so when they released it. You're not aware of what the Trump Justice Department is investigating or not investigating.
Show me the evidence.
He said multiple...
You're the one that wants to talk about... There's no evidence of your claim. Lack of evidence, lack of claim.
Hang on. He said multiple times that he wants to bring James Comey up on charges. Right? He said multiple times that he wants to go after these people.
Those charges got dropped.
Instructing his Justice Department to investigate these things, we're finally starting to see the fruit. My evidence is we're finally seeing the fruit. With the SPLC, I'm guaranteeing you that there's going to be other organizations which are indicted for various things like this. This is exactly what it is.
Former FBI Director James Comey is now responding after he was indicted again by the Trump Justice Department. This is the second time in less than a year.
My bad, guys. You can kind of read what's going on. Yeah, Andrew posted that Comey was indicted. This is what's happening.
I'm still innocent. I'm still not afraid. And I still believe in the independent federal judiciary. So let's go. But it's really important that all of us remember this is not who we are as a country. This is not how the Department of Justice is supposed to be. And the good news is we get closer every day to restoring.
Anyways, no one cares. Let's continue with the debate.
That you said that you wanted. It's at least a step in the right direction.
They've only been charged for financial crimes. They need to be charged for treason.
So was Al Capone.
They need to be charged for treason.
Yeah, Al Capone. Al Capone was not charged for his mob hits or for bootlegging or this, that. He's charged with financial crimes.
You're not comparing Al Capone to 15 million invasion of this country.
It's the case that you go to jail for 15...
Al Capone is more of an American than Mayorkas.
If you go to jail for 15 years for the crime of murder or to jail for 15 years for the crime of for some type of financial fraud, you can prove the one but not the other. Which one would you go after?
I would go for it all. That's what the feds do. That's what they did to me.
No, you wouldn't. If you could prove one but not the other, you would go after the one you could prove.
No. They always overcharge so they can get you a plea and get their incarceration rate and get their conviction rate. I would know. I've been through it before.
Sure.
Regardless, we're talking about almost 2 years into this administration and no deep state arrests. None.
Who do you want to see arrested?
I just told you Mayorkas. There's one. How about the Obama administration? How about John?
I mean, it would be nice. I have to read out these super chats. Adam said, "My Lord tax." Thank you very much, Adam. Appreciate that. For Frumpkin said, for 10. For the Griff, not one step back. Thank you, sir. Thomas the Barber for 5 says, Owen mentioned later he wants Comey arrested and mad no one has been arrested. The next day he was arrested and it was issued for his arrest. Sued. That did happen. We just reviewed that. Thank you very much. Actually, Religious for 10 says, it was nice to see them during questions have common ground. They showed how professional debates should be handled. Then last night we got stark contrast with that disgusting troll Brian. Oh, you guys are going to love my video that I did of that covering. It's about 35 minutes or so covering the whole Rachel Wilson versus Brian debate. I'm going to be uploading it literally as this finishes, this live stream. That will be going live. It's a good one, guys. It's funny. Blasterbot says, Owen seems very disappointed that we haven't won more, not that we have had no success. I blame the other branches more than Trump for that. It's a good point. Dono Bar is now at... Guys, I'll tell you what, 2 hours in, day shift has been an utter disappointment today. 2 hours in, night shift would have this shit filled up with fire content and breakdowns like this, guys. Day shift, you should all be ashamed of yourselves, honestly. That is an absolutely abysmal Dono Bar. This is a fucking charity, guys.
Brennan, how about James Clapper? How about James Comey?
Tell me what your process would be to arrest them.
Okay, first of all, Dan Bongino, who was the deputy director at the FBI, spent 8 years writing books and doing a podcast all about arresting these people. He gets in there and does none of it.
Yeah,
so
the same Dan Bongino who talked about what was going on in the Epstein files ad nauseum, how none of it made sense.
And then changed his mind.
Because he went in and saw, here's what's funny. Why would anybody ever want to go work for the Trump administration from the private sector, especially somebody like Dan Bongino, if it's the case that he goes in, looks at the evidence, reviews it, and says, actually, I got this wrong, and you guys fucking crucify him for it. You crucify him for saying, look, I got this wrong. And it's like, why would anybody ever want to go work for the Trump administration if that's going to be the case, Owen?
Imagine that. You give us a little peek into what's going on in the Epstein files, and it makes people even more aware and more suspicious, and then you say there's no there there. If anything, our peek at the Epstein files showed us that there is something serious there. Very serious.
You've never, look, not only have you never provided any evidence for that, but your other problem is you didn't actually answer my question. What incentivization would like, let's say Trump drafted you to go to his administration to investigate these things, and you went in good faith and you did. And you came back and you were like, look, I took a look at all this evidence and I was wrong about this. And then all of your friends and cohorts and everybody else who was cheering you on fucking crucified you for it.
You know what, Andrew? It's funny that you say that because that's literally happening to me right now.
From who?
That's literally happening to me. From this new MAGA right cult.
Who?
I already did this. I already put my time in.
Yeah,
I was arrested.
Crucifying
Hold on
you
a second.
for it?
Hold on a second. Hold on a second. For four different times, I was arrested for supporting Trump. Okay.
Yeah.
Now
all incorrect, by the way.
Now, you like Trump. I don't like Trump. Now, beyond the point, I already went through that crucible. I already put my face, my name, my neck out there, and it's not even that I necessarily did it for Trump. I did it for the truth because I believed Trump was innocent and I wanted to support him.
But how are you
I've
being
already been through that.
crucified?
I have MAGA people putting me on lists. I have
What
MAGA
list?
people doxing me. I have MAGA people sending people to my house. I have Laura Loomer in my box all day telling me she's telling Trump to post negatively about me.
Typified.
Trump posted something about me. He told me to shut the fuck up. So I got arrested 4 times for this guy, spent months in prison for this guy, did everything for this guy, censored, lawsuit, everything, lost all my social media, kept supporting him. And then what is the one recognition I get from him? Fuck you, shut up. I don't even care. I did it because it's the truth. And now the truth is, this administration has turned against us. MAGA has now been weaponized against us. And Trump is now the very globalist that we were supposed to get out of the White House.
This is ironically.
Yeah, I mean, I thought that was a pretty strong monologue. I'm not even going to lie. Loomer in my box. Who said Luma in my box? Look, you may say, oh, well, that's anecdotal. Yeah, it is anecdotal, but also it's a pretty strong anecdote because there are a lot of people who are sort of sharing this sentiment at the moment. They're like, man, we rode with you for 10 years or so, and then as soon as people have questions and they dissent and they push back against you once you've crossed a red line for them, which is this war in Iran, all of a sudden it's you're a low IQ, you're idiots, F you, Alex Jones, Owen Shroyer, people who have really bled for the cause. And, you know, I think that everyday Americans would also be thinking that that it's a big fuck you, the Iran war, to them, considering that things are not so great at home.
Hilarious. So the first thing that you claim, you say, hey, look, I was crucified for my support of Donald Trump by Democrats. Do you agree it's by Democrats?
Well, actually, first it was by Republicans because we were going up against...
And never Trumpers.
Yeah.
Like you are right now.
No, I'm not a never Trumper.
Anyway,
I voted for him 3 times.
What happened is, well, now you're like, he's the worst thing ever.
No, I'm saying he's failed. This administration has
failed. And when you're talking about this, Democrats were the ones who persecuted you. Democrats were the ones who threw you in jail. They were the ones who didn't want to give you a fair trial. Me and my wife, we advocated for the release of J6ers everywhere that we possibly could, yourself included.
And I will give Trump that. That is the biggest victory. I would never regret voting for Trump because he did that.
Yeah,
never.
Huge victory, okay? But not only that, let's dive into this a little bit deeper. When you're talking about your supposed crucifixion now by the right, Trump hasn't shut down your channels. He hasn't done any of that. Under Biden, that was a sure thing.
Well, let's not be so sure that's not going to happen soon.
You say gonna, hasn't though. Okay, under Biden it was a
Isn't that the whole point? Is none of this stuff has happened under Trump, and you're saying, oh, but it could.
Hang on, under Biden, no, it's not. Under Biden, it would have. For sure. He was working with Facebook and these other groups in order to shut down people who had podcasts. You have a voice right now. That's true. The President of the United States might have told you to shut the fuck up, but he still gave you a platform. Tell him to shut his fucking mouth. That's the distinction.
No, Trump did not. That's the First Amendment. That is the First Amendment. It was given to us by the founding fathers.
Well, Biden didn't give a fuck about the First Amendment.
And neither
he was
does
working
Trump.
with the tech companies to shut you down.
Trump doesn't care either. Trump.
I mean, hold on. I think this exchange ends
They'll
soon.
censor us under Trump. They already did. He did nothing.
Where?
What are you talking? When did I get censored? What year?
No, the Trump administration.
I was censored under Trump 1. I was censored from 2018 to 2022.
Of Trump's administration censored you. What?
What did he do for it? What did he do to end the censorship?
That's different. That's you got to make a distinction.
No. You're the one making claims that Trump did something for me.
Yes, he did.
I'm not asking Trump to do anything for me. I'm saying that
he instructed his Department of Justice to.
We have clear evidence, and Mark Zuckerberg has corroborated that Joe Biden was in fact working. Joe Biden's FBI was telling Facebook and Meta to censor the Hunter Biden laptop story and working with them.
Stop putting pressure on Facebook and these other groups for censorship. He promised he would do that.
But that is happening. That's why he just brokered the deal to give the Ellisons everything so that they can censor the internet in favor of this war and foreign policy that's unpopular.
Where's that happening?
Right now. It just happened with TikTok. It just happened with Paramount.
No, TikTok, they talk about the war constantly. I know. I'm on TikTok arguing with them constantly.
Ellison and Oracle are about to have all these databases. They're going to sell all of our private information.
In the future soon. But you've been wrong about futures before. And by the way,
wait a second. Hold on.
Now.
Okay, hold on a second.
I'm talking about
hold
right
on
now.
A second. When Doge ended, and then Musk called the Epstein files a hoax, and then struck Iran, I was called a panickin. I was called a panickin because I knew it meant we were getting into a war with Iran and a regime change war with Iran. I was called a panickin. I was called a panickin because if he did this, the MAGA coalition would be destroyed. And I was called a panickin because I said if he does this, we're going to lose the midterms. And now all 3 things of those have happened.
Except
you
were also wrong about Venezuela.
What was I wrong about Venezuela?
In Venezuela, you said that there's a good chance there that we're going to be bogged down in a war.
Never said that.
You did too.
No, I did not.
You said it on your show. Yes, you did.
No, I did not.
You said there's a good shot there. You were in a debate when you said it, in fact, with a caller. It's a good shot there would be bogged down as well.
What are you talking about?
That's what's funny to me. It's like every time I dive in to your view, it's always, well, down the road, he's going to do these bad things. Down the road, he's going to do this. Trump's administration hasn't censored you. Trump's administration didn't jail you. Trump's administration didn't do any of that. You just gave him credit for getting you released. And not only that, when we're talking about the economics of this thing. We diverted into this, which is fine. I think that speech is something that we need to debate about. But when we're talking about the economics, you still haven't actually told us how it is that you, Owen Shroyer, are going to make an offset for net negative migration without prices going up. There's going to be an
cut taxes.
That's an adjustment period.
You can cut taxes in a year.
Do you think that prices are going to immediately decrease because you cut taxes?
Prices don't have to decrease. You have more money in your wallet. You have more money in your bank account. You're not paying it to the government.
Again, those are adjustment periods that are incremental. It would be so if you cut taxes immediately.
Takes 1
year.
year.
And by the way, Trump doesn't unilaterally have the power to do that. He doesn't unilaterally have the power to just cut taxes. That has to go through Congress. And so this idea that you have, one thing he did do, and he did do well unilaterally with his executive orders, was with migration. And he did get us to the point where we're at a net negative of migration. Who would ever have given us that? Who out of anybody in the field would ever have given us net negative migration?
If Trump has a positive,
it's a huge win.
It's definitely on the migration issue, but it's not perfect. He's still giving Chinese students, he's still letting Chinese students into these universities to save their ass. He's still letting the H-1B.
50% decrease of the H-1Bs, but the Cato Institute recently said, in fact, cut down 136,000, 50% of the H-1Bs eliminated under Trump's policy. So yeah, it's true. Chinese immigrants can still come in and study under H-1B visas, 50% less of them. That's correct.
So don't you think that there should be an adjustment period, just like you said with taxes? Shouldn't there be an adjustment period for hiring Americans? Because what happened was the farmers, agriculture, all these big businesses said, Trump, we have to have this cheap migrant labor.
That's correct, yes.
And so he caved and he let the donors get what they want. That's what Trump does.
This
is a donor class administration.
In this case, not only did he not cave, but the opposite happened.
What are you talking about? He's doing mass deportation still?
No. He gave subsidies. And yes, there has not only has there been big time deportations, but it's border crossings. It's just new ones even coming in versus self-deporting is an amazing feature at a net negative. Same with immigration internationally, which means legal immigration. So yeah, he did deal with them with subsidies. That was designed to keep the prices down. But again, if we follow your policy, which would be mine, you want them all out, right? I want all the Mexicans who are working illegally out of here.
I would say you can't, there's too many, but I would say you have to do at least the 15 that came in under Biden.
Well, you want to get rid of, I want them all gone. I want all the illegal immigrants gone, don't you?
Yeah, I would say so.
Okay, great. So if we get all the illegal immigrants out of California.
But Trump's not doing that.
Hang on.
It does feel like this. Good Time Sword Bear says Owen's repeating talking points. Andrew's correcting him. I mean, on these particular ones, maybe Owen's been sidetracked with other issues. But just in terms of the way that it looks like the debate's going, that's the way that it looks like it's going. I mean, I could be wrong because I also don't really know the nuances of all of the things going on within the US policies and Trump stuff.
We get all the illegal immigrants out of California tomorrow, right? What happens to the price of produce? Does it go up or down?
Well, we need an adjustment time, Andrew.
Hey, that's my whole point. We would need an adjustment time.
So we both agree that.
So it's kind of a little bit more boring for me, this part. Guys, smash the like button. 300 likes. Oh, guys, we're on 666 amount of people in the chat right now. I don't know about that. That makes me nervous. Dal for 5 says, for the chair, and I endorse this time. I don't know about this time, guys. Don't know if I'll ever stream again at this time because day shift has been a bit. Morning shift has been a bit, The Marinite Aussie says, please do more streams at this time. Helps me with my stay-at-home mum shift. Okay. I'll think about it. Good Time Sword Bear says, Crucible Crusader is good as fuck. Who's with me? That's so true. He is good. Leah says, thanks, Jake. It's been a fire stream. Have some of my hubby's money as a contribution to the day shift grift. Come on, y'all. Let's go. Yeah. If we want to see more day shift grift, then, guys, we'll need to pick up our game. Terminator says, do you ever think Andrew will do a debate with Nick F on a topic like this? No, I do not think that will ever happen. Thank you for the 20, though, my friend. And JD over here for 10 on Stream Elements says, way behind with my morning coffee. To me, Andrew gives Trump a C+ grade. Owen gives a C- or so. Owen says C- is a failure. Andrew says it's still passing, even though it's not perfect score. Hope you leave the stream long enough for me to catch up. Yeah, I might actually leave this one up. Yeah, I would say that Andrew gives him a B and that Owen gives him a D. I would be just a little bit, the gap is a bit bigger with the Epstein and the Iran stuff.
Mass deportations is a failure of the administration.
What you're dealing with right now is an adjustment time due to the... How is net negative migration a failure?
We're not getting mass deportations. That's
you
what we're
don't
talking
have
about.
to massively deport people who aren't coming in, dude. You don't have to.
They're already here.
Yes, and by the way, he's going after the criminal elements of those people first, which he's been doing. There's a net negative of them crossing into the border. If you had said day one with any Republican administration, we'd have only 1,000 border crossings a day versus 46,000 border crossings a day, you'd say it's the biggest fucking success anybody had ever seen.
How about this?
Somehow with Trump, though, Trump gets exactly that done day one, and Owen goes, well, what have you done for me lately?
What is the number? What is the number?
Janet Jackson over here. What have you done for me lately? Like the Eddie Murphy skit.
That you would be happy with of deportations for Trump's 4 years?
Overall number?
Yeah.
Probably, I would want to see, like, happy with, you said?
I feel like I'm seeing some of the night shift just like yawn and come into the stream. Like you see like Extended Delta, JD over there. I feel a bit more comfortable now because the day shift, you guys are making me a bit on edge, you know? Don't know what to really expect from you guys. A lot of new names in here. In day shift
versus what would be optimal that I'd want to see.
Let's put a reasonable but good expectation number.
I mean, I would be happy if it was the case that we had no new immigrants coming in. I think that's a massive success.
We agree that Trump has had a success. Okay, let me answer my own question, then you can respond. Yeah. I think if Trump doesn't deport at least 15 million people, which seems like an impossibility, but they came here, we can get them out. There's strategies to do it. Yeah. I think 15 million. If it's less than that, I think we got a problem.
Well, the entirety of the basis for the 15 million number, you would agree with me, there's way more than 15 million illegal
immigrants. Probably like 40,
here.
Maybe.
Or 50.
Yeah.
It's very high.
Yeah.
So if it is the case that it's very high that we have this amount of illegals that are here, that's going to take a long time. And Trump has Trump has been hampered. He was moving towards this. He's been hampered in the courts, again, 3 times the amount of injunctions any other president when it comes to illegal immigration. And he's trying to unilaterally do this because Congress isn't working with him. He's hamstrung at every level. He's using executive orders to push that through. And it's been wildly successful with the tools that he has. You have to say that that's successful. A net negative migration.
I've said that that's the one success, but
that's the big success.
I just don't think that it's going to be where it needs to be. I think that he's caved on the mass deportations, and at the end of the day, as much as both of us would like to see every single illegal immigrant deported, I think that
But if they are, the prices are going to go up, right?
I think that you can negate that by not getting them into another war in the Middle East.
The war in the Middle East, are you kidding me? You think that that's the budget buster in comparison?
Absolutely. He's asking for $1.5 trillion in the next defense budget.
Nothing.
We pay $1 trillion in interest on our debt.
Do you know what our entitlements are in comparison to military spending? But that's my whole point. When we're talking about entitlements, the number one spending, not military. That's one.
I think interest is about to take entitlements.
Well, Maybe, but the number one spending right now is entitlements is 3 times higher than military spending. 3 times higher. Most of those entitlements are coming in because of illegal immigration and mass migration. You know this. I've heard you say it yourself.
I have a zero tolerance for any welfare.
Yeah, I've heard you say it yourself. So if that's the case, you're not going to be able to do this without a transitory period where prices go up.
It's been a year.
When you see all of these jobs,
over a year.
First of all, real wage growth have gone up 1.3% because the jobs are finally going to Americans.
The economy's bad. You can throw numbers every day. The economy is bad. More Americans are living paycheck to paycheck.
Are real wages up or down?
Down.
Okay, so how far down are they?
They're as down as they've ever been.
As down as they've ever been, ladies.
Yeah, the economy is not great. At the moment in the United States. I think people are really feeling the pinch of it. So,
ladies and gentlemen,
anybody can cook these numbers.
These wages are as down as they've ever been. No, the wages are up. Are you going
to tell Americans that they're doing good financially?
But inflation, though.
I didn't say there's not room for improvement. We're talking about whether or not Trump is successful. I think that Americans would be doing worse if real wages were at net negative like they were under Biden. And that real wages have gone up 1.3%. It's a major thing.
And cost of living has gone up 2.3%.
And guess what? That'll go down when you get rid of mass migration and immigrants.
Yeah. So Sanguine Censure, interesting name, says 1.3 increase in real wages, but 30% inflation over the past 4 years. And they say 30% inflation, guys, but I often look at things and I'm like, why is this doubled in price? This looks like it's doubled in price. Maybe it's just anecdotal, but I always look around at the shopping center, and when you go to buy things, I'm like, I could have sworn that was half price. Anyway.
Conclusion of the open dialogue. Gentlemen, thank you very much. That was a riveting open discussion. That was bringing Andrew Weil.
Come on. This is 100%
to go. Just to be sure.
Wilson
that,
first.
Thank you very much, Rachel.
Okay, so since this is going to be disingenuously framed as Andrew loves Epstein now, I just want to say many of you were very happy about a lot of Owen's points on Epstein, and I am too, and Andrew did make clear we don't think he's good. We don't think pedophilia is good. Given that,
welcome Mighty Maximus to the chat, guys. Mighty Maximus sends a huge 100 saying, tried several times to donate through Stream Elements. For some reason, it's not working, so unfortunately I have to pay YouTube 30% to donate. No, don't tell me it's not working. Can somebody else please test Stream Elements, guys? I think it's bugged, boys. Boys, I think it's bugged. Welcome, Mighty Maximus. Thank you, my friend. Hopefully you didn't do it on an Apple iPhone, because apparently you lose 50% that way. Dal says, here's to making Jake feel more comfortable for day shift. Well, I feel a bit better now, thank you. For the day shift grift, says Rips MG. Thank you kindly.
since there are 30 to 40,000 girls 15 and under each year getting married in Iran, and there are 2.3 million girls and women living in Iran right now who were married before they turned 15. And this was not the case before this regime took over. There were 18 and up marriage laws prior to 1979. If we can get rid of this regime and the regime change eliminates this child marriage in the millions, would that be worth it to you, all of you who are upset about the Epstein files? Would that be something that you would support?
Well, I'd have to know what the worth it payoff is. No, I'm inclined to say no too. I'm inclined to say no too, because Iran is not my country. We've been in the Middle East for decades, for my entire life.
So we only care about pedophilia when it's here. We don't care about 2.3 million children being married off to old men in Iran.
I care about fixing my country first, and I feel that our presence in the Middle East has not resulted in anything positive.
So then at least be honest that it's not about pedophilia.
It's not.
You do not care about pedophilia whatsoever. You're just ass mad. That's bullshit.
Well, if you want to change Iran, I'm sure that they'll take you over there. You can go over there and fight the regime change war of the administration if you care so much about it.
The point is...
No, I didn't. No.
The point is consistency. If the entirety of the consistency is, if Trump isn't actively going after pedophiles, he's supporting pedophiles.
Has there ever been a statement about this war? He's never mentioned that Iran.
Hang on, let me make the point. If that is the case, well, why does he need to mention a thing that's known? But anyway, if it is the case that it's not consistent, hey, man, if Trump isn't actively going after what I think is a U.S. pedophile ring that I can't even prove exists, then he's supporting pedophiles. But over in Iran, where you literally see him blowing them up, where's the consistency there, man?
He blew up 200 school children. Nobody has mentioned fighting pedophilia as part of this war. It's a regime change war for Israel to get control of the Middle East.
Yeah, I mean, I think in terms of the broader scope of it, the Epstein thing is one argument. That's one debate to have. And the defending pedos thing comes from that. Well, you know, if they're not arresting people, and if they're allowing all these documents to be redacted, and if they're not going after, for example, going after that clause in the 2007 trial of Jeffrey Epstein where you can't prosecute his co-conspirators, if all of these things are happening, well then, you know, that's one thing. But then the war itself, it's not like they're fighting the war on behalf of pedophiles or something like that. But Rachel's argument is also an internal critique, though. Rachel's argument is, well, you know, you guys care so much about pedos, and then you'll say that Trump is defending pedos if he's not doing what you say. So then if you don't want to go and kill all those pedophiles, well, then I'll say the same thing to you. Well, you're defending pedos, so...
That's what this is all about. And so, no, I don't support that.
Are the Iranians... Is it
Iranians bad. Iranians bad.
Is it institutional to the... Is it institutional to the Iranians under Sharia law that they're allowed to marry kids or not?
When every American has a backyard,
I'll tell you what, answer the question.
Barbecue pit and a pool, then we can go police the world.
Can you answer the question? Is it the case that institutionally Sharia allows you to marry children or not?
I'm not interested in Sharia. I don't want it in my country.
Can you answer my question? Can you answer the question, Owen?
Yes, Sharia is bad. I don't like Sharia. I condemn Korea.
So then the idea that she has is in fact the case. She's talking about consistency. If Trump is covering for pedophiles by not arresting who you think are pedophiles with no evidence, then you're supporting pedophiles by not letting him kill them in Iran.
It's different. It's my country versus Iran. Okay, I live in America. I want to fix America. If you want to fix Iran, go to the Middle East. Nobody's stopping you.
It's not about fixing Iran. It's about the consistency of your logical position, which is not logical.
So it's not about fixing Iran, but that's the entire basis of your statement.
It's not a logical position to say, oh, I'll oppose it in this one hand, and if Trump doesn't do that, he's supporting it. But on the other hand, if I take us away from killing them in Iran, that's not him supporting pedophilia. It's bizarre.
You want to go one more time?
No, I'm good.
Oh, okay. You got it.
Hey, how are you doing? So wouldn't being successful on at least your primary promise of a thing be considered success?
No.
No. Okay.
If I hit one home run in a 10-inning game and we lose, that's not a success.
So
avarice.
Is it the case, though, that Trump has been hugely successful when it comes to mass migration? He has been successful in that arena, and that was one of his number one promises.
Yeah, I said yes. I said that's been a success.
Yes.
That's one of, like, if there's 10 issues.
But that's all negated by a 7-week war.
It's a separate issue, and he's failed.
All right. First, Andrew Wilson. I first learned about the Orthodox Church from you, and my family and I were just baptized into the church this past Christmas. Christ is risen. Second, Owen, you've made a lot of comments about prosecutions and reducing taxes, all while neglecting the fact that these require two other branches of government working with Trump. The judiciary branch has consistently blocked him and almost every single move he's made, and it's had to go to the Supreme Court I don't know how many times. Meanwhile, Congress, no thanks to Republicans in Congress, by the way, have dragged their feet on almost every single issue. So why are you putting all the responsibility on Trump when we've got two other branches of government?
Well, Trump appointed the attorney general, and she failed him. So he did that. He appointed that. So I don't know.
It's not the judiciary, dude.
So I don't know what.
He's asking about the judiciary of radical judges, which have blocked Trump every chance they get. It was so bad, in fact, that the Supreme Court finally had to step in and say, look, sorry, California, you can't set immigration policy for the rest of the country.
Do you believe these judges are corrupt?
Many of them, yes.
So then why don't we do something about corruption?
Because in this case, corruption is a matter of spectrum between political ideology. The Democrats believe that they're doing something which is well within the purview of federal judges to do. And it was within their purview to do until that was recently constitutionally lifted by the Supreme Court, who said federal judges in California can't anymore say, hey, Texas, this is going to be the new standard for immigration law. They were blocking Texas immigration law in radical courts in California, dude. He's been hamstrung at.
Sanguine censure is another decent point here. Decent point. It says Nayib Bukele can do it, so can we. Sometimes I do wish that we lived in one of these more Latin American type countries, not because of the communism that is always sprouting up there, not because of the way of life, not because of the IQ, but because of the way that they're able to just go in and cut red tape. Straight to jail, they say. You, corruption, straight to jail. Would love to be able to do a bit of that. Just cut through the bureaucracy. Constitution, tomato, doesn't matter. Love to be able to do a bit of that, but he can't. So this guy asking the question's right. And Vanata sent 20 over on Stream Elements and said, the cheating thing is a weak argument if they're backing the shiny lizard Gavin Newsom. And Vincent said, I've never been into politics until now. I do have a lot of questions, but I'm trying to save them until I learn more. Thanks for the live stream. Thank you for joining me, Vincent. Greatly appreciated, my friend. Glad to see you getting involved. Don't get too involved, though. Don't get too involved. My one warning.
Every level by the judiciary. 100% that's true. The Supreme Court, which he appointed, he's had massive victories there.
Well, not according to him recently, but I just find it amazing that the Biden administration can make thousands of prosecutions and arrests within months, but this administration can't do anything about Epstein clients or about the deep state.
Thousands of arrests of who?
myself and January 6th defendants.
Yeah, so they were able to utilize the power of the media to paint all of you guys as being violent extremist insurrectionists in order to get the public on their side. In this particular case, not only Democrats, but on your side, people have weaponized the media instead to paint Trump out as though he's part of some pedophilic satanic elite, thus getting the one thing he always had in his teeth was the media. And you guys have done everything you can to take that away through this obfuscation of Epstein and the Epstein files. When we have way bigger fish to fry in domestic policy for sure, and you still don't even have any evidence of any of those claims, which is wild.
This is for Owen. So if Trump could only do one thing that would make you change your mind, would you rather him act more on the E-files or where we're currently at with Iran? Which one is a bigger issue for you?
I would say probably bring the troops home, generally speaking. Bring them all home. And I think you win the midterms if you do that. I think you save face with everything. If you come out tomorrow and you say we're done in the Middle East and we're bringing all of our troops home, I think you sweep the midterms.
This is mainly for both of y'all. I just want to ask, how can we get our economy to rebound after the negative effects?
Economy's being a bit boring for me, not gonna lie, guys.
Be that imperialistic power in the world or state. I'm noticing a lot with foreign policy, especially in the last 50 years, I see myself asking this question: what kind of America do we want to be? Do we want to stay to our imperialistic roots, which is based from like the Spanish-American War, our acquiring of Philippines, Guam, Grenada? Do we still want to be that imperialistic power in the world, which I'm totally down for?
I don't consider it an imperial power, but a hegemonic power. Yeah. And I think that that's the proper context. Americans are not imperialist and never have been. We don't have an empire, a traditional empire like what you'd see with the British Empire, things like this. We're a hegemon. And the United States will brook nobody messing with their hegemon status. And when you guys think about it, I know how that sounds. You go, wait a second, I don't care for a hegemon. Yes, you do. Oh, yeah, you do. You care a great deal if you're a hegemon. You just don't know that you care a great deal if you're a hegemon. But let me just ask it to you this way. If it was the case that you could pick between two lives, the one life is there's a guy who lives up on a hill who has everything and can kick the holy shit out of you, and you could be that guy, or the guy he kicks the shit out of. Which way you rolling, man? Tell me. You want to be the guy on the hill. So.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. And also the hegemon versus the imperialist. Like if you look at the Imperial British Empire, they obviously had their colonies everywhere. So it's very different. America is just the biggest and baddest dude on the block, and they do have a lot of soft power everywhere, hard power at times as well. But they're a hegemon. They're the global power, the superpower of the world. That is a bit different.
I think I agree directionally, but I feel like Americans are the ones getting their ass kicked right now. That's the problem. I feel like Americans.
By who?
What?
By who?
By our own government.
Oh, well, okay. Hang on. Yes, inside of a hegemonic.
I do want to just speed up the Q&A, just slightly.
Yeah, very quickly. I'll just say, I agree with that. Yes, of course, especially from Democrats and progressives. They beat the holy shit out of the private sector in the worst way possible. I guess what I'm saying is directionally to answer your question, when you're talking about empire, we're a hegemon, not an empire.
Okay. I've got to go.
Huge 100 coming in from Mighty Maximus says, for the haters in the chat,
you are gay.
That's so true, Mighty Maximus. Very, very true. For the haters in the chat,
Helix sniz.
That's true, boys. That is true.
Go to the next one. Thank you very much.
And Mighty Maximus, a great night shifter, has come in and filled up the dono bar for the day shift. You guys need to say thank you to Mighty Maximus. I think Stream Elements might still be bugged, boys, so we might have to test it out again.
Yeah, thank you, Andrew. Thank you, Owen. My question is around immigration and the demographic shift. So my question is, with the U.S. turning into a country with a non-white majority, the concern is that the significant demographic shift will change the country fundamentally, and America will cease to be America. And this is echoed in the dissident right-wing spheres. And I want to quote Ben Shapiro here.
Yeah, you don't say, buddy.
He said in 2016, if I'm not incorrect, he said, "I don't give a damn about the so-called browning of America. Color doesn't matter, ideology does." And this has caused massive infighting in the right wing. And my question is, do you associate with the mainstream conservative view that Ben Shapiro and MAGA spouts, or the more dissident and alt-right?
Well, I don't think MAGA spouts that. I think Ben Shapiro does, but I don't think MAGA in general spouts that. So I would answer it this way. Let's just agree with Ben Shapiro for the sake of argument here. That yes, under cultural nationalism, we'd want people who have the similar values to the United States. Those do just so happen to be most of the white nations. I'm just pointing that out, that if you wanted to import people who had the most amount of your values, that does seem to be from the nations which are mostly white. So I would even grant Shapiro's argument because, I mean, how would that actually hurt the MAGA base to grant the argument?
Well, I don't think we are taking Ben Shapiro's statements at face value at this with this quote here. I think he means something a little bit different than we're perceiving. But nonetheless, let me give you an example of something I experienced that might put this kind of into a picture for you. When I was charged by the federal government and I was going through the process of defense, I dealt with a Chinese prosecutor. I dealt with, I think it was from Azerbaijan. I forget which country, a country in the Middle East.
All right, guys, I'm nearly at the end here. Not that interested in a lot of these questions.
They all hate it. Western Europe.
Just get as many people in as possible. Ready for you.
All right. So this Congress so far has only passed 83 bills, which is on track at this point to be the lowest of the modern history. So I want this from both of you, which is, what is your opinion on the current Republican Party, which Trump heads, and how they've misspent their trifecta in government and what it means for the political future of the party?
Yeah, so I would agree with Owen. So here's maybe an olive branch. Republicans aren't doing a great job. And it would be nice to see many of them in Republican primaries get primaried out by better candidates. I would agree with that 100%. I just think that you're going to need Trump's support to do that. 100% you're going to need his support to do it. So I do think that ultimately we miss the forest through the trees, and what happens is we go, well, wait a second, if we just accelerate and we wait until things get really bad, then somehow base candidates are going to come out of the woodwork and there's going to be new messiahs. That's not what happens. What happens is you live in 6 years of misery, and then you rush to the other party to offset the damage done. And all you do the entire time your party comes in is undo everything the other one did.
I'll give you a chance to respond to one if you want, but then we got to move to the next question.
I'll be quick. Yeah, speaking of Trump endorsements, I wish he wouldn't endorse people like Lindsey Graham right here in South Carolina. And, I've been given the thought process behind it. I don't like it. I think Mark Lynch would be a much better senator, and Trump used to campaign against Lindsey Graham. But I will say this in response to the Congress issue with Republicans. I don't think this GOP, I don't think this Republican Party actually likes Trump. I think they're faking it. I think they're pretending it right now.
Of course.
And I think when the time comes, they will all turn on Trump. And I'm afraid it's going to be after the midterms when the Democrats move to impeach. If they do, I think a lot of Republicans are going to turn on Trump in that case. And we'll see what the Republican Party was really about.
But if we assure by continuously attacking Trump, that especially by labeling him as a pedophilic protector, which, by the way, he was almost assassinated for the other night, right? You read the manifesto. He was almost assassinated because they were like, wow, you're protecting pedophiles. You assure Democrats coming in, which will hamstring Trump, and they will impeach him.
Complete and utter retard alerts in the chat tonight. I tell you what, guys. Tell you what. Some outrageous claims in there. Sometimes I think that the Andrew derangement syndrome is real out there. They go, now they're saying, now I'm getting accused of getting paid by Andrew. Yes, that's right. That's right. That's correct. That's who I rely on for my bills. You know, my nearly 1 million subscriber channel. Yes. I guess does he own that? I don't know. What theory is there? I'm paid by, okay.
I 100% guarantee you that if Democrats get in office, they will impeach Donald Trump. And accelerationists on the right want that. But for why? Why? What's the point? That's not going to do any good. It's not like Democrats are going to come in and be like, well, we're not Zionists no more. Yeah, right. They'll just make everything worse.
Policy did that, not podcasters.
Question. Huge fans of you both. Just want to say, I've spent a lot of time talking about the Epstein files. I just had a quick question.
From Pukin for 10 on Stream Elements over there. Thank you, sir. That will go straight to Andrew because that's who pays me. All this money goes straight to him, obviously.
About both of you, your opinion on Donald Trump hand appointing Ronald Lauder's son-in-law, Kevin Wirtz, to the National Treasury earlier this year. Who, if you know anything about the Epstein files, he was the second biggest donor besides Les Wessner to Jeffrey Epstein.
It's just the facts. Whether Trump was involved in anything illegal or not, I'm not convinced that he has been, but it's just a fact. Trump was in the Epstein circles. He hung around with all these people. I don't think you can deny that.
We'll go to the next question.
There was jokes being made, and I kind of was a chuckle after this, that there was one chick who went on Piers Morgan. They were like, "You were in the Epstein files," and she was basically like, "Yeah, well, if you weren't in the Epstein files, you're a loser." It's all the who's who was in the Epstein files. If you're a mover and a shaker, you're in the files. And I was like, that's actually kind of funny. I actually kind of laughed when that happened.
Hello, you two. First of all, thank you guys so much for being here. I have a question for both of you. I'm a little concerned about this sort of division sort of on the right. So, Owen, could you provide me your strongest point of praise for Trump? And Andrew, your strongest point of criticism, please.
Yeah, I'll make it quick. Again, I will never regret voting for Trump because he freed a lot of my friends that would have spent much of the rest of their lives in a federal prison. So for that, I will never regret voting for Trump. Whether or not I think it's propaganda driven, he has restored a certain level of patriotism, I think, to this country that is always good. Whether or not it comes from a base of truth or not, he is constantly trying to induce patriotism. So I think that that's good. He's obviously secured the border. On these three things, I would say that Trump has done a great job.
Yeah, Trump's done a great job. So to answer your question directly, he's way too pro-woman.
That's true. I will say, I call it the bimbofication of the administration.
Yeah. It's really bad. Bondi is a bimbo, 100%. The faith, his office of faith lunatic that he has in there, she's a problem, right? The fact that they bend over backwards for the females in the administration.
Hey, this was
crazy.
supposed to be positive. At least say they're good looking or something.
No, I'm supposed to take the worst.
Jump forward.
Oh, you were taking the worst.
I'm taking the worst. What's the worst thing Trump's done? His pro-woman is the worst thing he's done, in my opinion.
Just to get in as many questions as we can with the remainder of...
Thank you, Extended Delta, for the 10 and saying, keep this one for yourself. Andrew will never know. I'll put it in my back pocket. Thank you. I'll consider it a tip on top of my paycheck. Thank you.
Time that we have.
Why are the women clapping for that? Good God.
Nobody hates women like women.
Would say is much better and think that way thinking Trump. Strengths of Trump was
a little behind.
Rob Moore.
Andrew said in his opening statement that one of the strengths of Trump was moving the Overton window. We just had a conversation about Republicans secretly hating Trump. I think I've seen you long enough, a big fan. You have a problem with the uniparty and the way things have been for years and years and years in this country. Given the fact that it would be impossible to even consider a fraction in that uniparty before Trump, wouldn't you say that that alone is a success of Trump? That we have a better chance, he's making small incremental gains now, but we have a better chance of actually having someone like me and you would say is much better in the future because of Trump. And wouldn't that be enough for you to consider him a success?
Yes, but I think the issue... I think the issue that we're going to face is we're 2 election cycles away from that coming to fruition, and whatever damage is going to be done in the next 4 years, I don't know. I don't know how bad it's going to get, but I think that we're starting to see that process. Yes.
Well, it's funny to me though. Again, every time we go down these roads, it seems like Owen is more on the Trump has been more successful than not. His big 2 things seem to be hinged on, and I knew that they would, the Epstein files and what's going on in Iran. But anytime we get into domestic policy and what's going on here, he seems to have a much more favorable opinion. So
I get a closing statement, right?
Well, hang on, I'm just answering to the question, right? So
just making sure.
So I mean, overall, he seems like he's far more pro-Trump than not pro-Trump as far as the successes, in my opinion.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Maybe the right
Thank you
wing
very
will
much.
get
We have
off
to go
my
to the
ass
next.
now.
This one.
Thank you both for the exciting debate.
All right. The mouth breather's back. Actually, I'm not going to. Let me read it out because it is entertaining to go after these theories in the chat. Okay. Nobody said your entire paycheck, Jake. You know what? I know, guys, that when you appear on Crucible streams and collab, Andrew pays you a stipend of super chats. Coping for Andrew's terrible debate versus Owen is a bad look. I know that, guys. So hold on a second. First of all, when was the last time I even appeared? Are you talking about the extravaganza or? Because if I got a stipend, or whatever that word is, of the extravaganza super chats, then I'd get like $3 a show. So times are tough, guys. This is a tough economy, but it's not that tough. I wouldn't go and do the extravaganza for $3. That wouldn't be a part of the contract. And then otherwise, I just don't really go on the Crucible streams. And it's been quite a while since I've been on a Crucible stream. But apparently, guys, I'm coping for Andrew the whole debate. So obviously, this person has sat here and watched the entire debate and watched the entire stream. And that's what it's been, I guess, guys. That's what it's been. It's just been me sitting here coping the whole time. I haven't disagreed with him once. Haven't disagreed with his points once. You nailed it, bro. You know where my money all comes from. And you know that I know that I'm getting Crucible super chats from streams that I never go on, and I've just been coping. Yep. Some people just have it all figured out, guys. I wish I was that intuitive.
Andrew, do you believe that Trump could do a policy or an action that would be so bad that it would overcome all of his net successes? And if so, how would it not be him portraying himself as the God-man Jesus Christ, thereby incurring the wrath of God on our nation?
Oh, I see. So the meme. So I think that Trump's actually memed worse stuff than that, honestly. But sure, I'm willing to grant that was bad. Okay, yeah, he shouldn't have memed out, himself as Jesus Christ healing the soldier. 100% agree. I'm definitely not giving Democrats control of the nation over it. It's no way, not in a million years. So even if Trump blasphemed, let's just say he's a blasphemer, all of the Democrats are blasphemers. They're all anti-Christian. They're all lunatics, and most of them are atheists. So it's like, okay, a little bit of blasphemy versus that. I'll take the little bit of blasphemy. Maybe you don't like it, right? But I'm assured what'll happen to Christians if Democrats get back into power. I'm assured.
That was a doctor, okay? I thought I was a doctor.
Too, on the doctor thing, he did say that with a smirk. He was like shit posting to the media when he said it. Just saying.
We'll go to the next one.
Okay, I wasn't going to ask a question until the very end. Owen said that there's a MAGA cult now that Trump is ahead of. And I guess the question is, the biggest split...
That's like Owen's stepbrother. One of Owen's parents went and had a child with someone from a lesser gene pool, and this is what was produced.
Now would be headed by Tucker Carlson having like nicotine-driven demon visions, and Candace Owen talking about like Bridget Macron's phallus and committing calumny against a widow and Erica Kirk, I guess, and like the guy you just interviewed, Dan Bilzerian, talking about whatever the hell he's talking about between playing poker and fucking tons of women, whatever. So I guess the question is to both of you, I guess, which side is better, Trump and his people who are actually, effectuating change, in our favor, or,
Bilzerian for Congress, guys. I'd like to see it over Fat Randy. Fine. I'd take it, guys. Wouldn't that be entertaining?
The people talking about Bridget Macron's dick and all that.
I mean, that's kind of a bit of a straw man, so I don't really know what that has to do with this debate.
I don't see Candace Owens in South Carolina,
That's what I'm saying,
campaigning
so-
for Mark Lynch. She
Or
doesn't
even
really
debating
do
her
much outside
views.
just
Well, at least Owen debates his views.
I did campaign for Mark Lynch. I was here.
No, but I'm saying, like most of the people within the, true MAGA, as you would see it, they're mostly online. Outside of you and a couple others, they're mostly on.
People. I love the comments sometimes. Stu goes, "Hey, what's wrong with that guy's looks?" He goes, and then he goes, "I feel like I kind of look like that dude." Stu, there's nothing wrong with his looks. He looks fine. He looks fine. I didn't mean it. And I'm sure you look fine too. If you look like him, I'm sure you look fine too. You know? He's got nice hair. James is about 6'2", 6'3", so he's probably around that sort of 6 foot mark. Gym, carbohydrates, lots of protein would be helpful, but it's not. He's not up shit creek without a paddle. He's up shit creek, but he's put his canoe in shit creek. Would be up there without a paddle if it wasn't for the gym and this sort of thing. He looks fine. He looks good. Okay, Stu, you look good, Stu. You're looking good, brother.
Online just complaining.
Yeah. No, I mean, I'm not sure what exactly you're asking. Unfortunately, let me answer it like this. Unfortunately, good people in politics are very rare.
I feel like that doesn't answer the question at all.
There are no good sides.
So
How about
here's-
that?
so
There are no
here's-
good sides.
so
There
I'll
are no
answer
good
it
sides.
directly. Right. Obviously, Trump and the people who are affecting change in the positive light towards more, which Owen just admitted, sets the stage for us to have better candidates in the future due to these current policies and direction that we're going. Obviously, that's superior to talking about Bridget Macron's penis.
Anthony comes in and says, "This is your handler, you're not defending Israel enough during this stream. How dare you? You're getting a pay cut." First of all, Anthony, you're not meant to come in here and tell everybody that you're my handler. Okay? You're not meant to just come in here and tell everybody that you're my handler. That's meant to be a secret. That's not meant to be public info. Okay? But anyways, guys, I'm going to get out of here, but we're about to go into the Brian Shapiro versus Rachel debate, okay? I did a full video on this. I've been working on it all day. You guys are going to love it. You're going to love it. It's going to be absolutely fantastic. Let me make sure this live premiere is going on. Okay? It's about to begin. Let me go and raid you guys over. If the redirect here works. Yeah. Let me make sure it works over here. Boom, let's go. Working. All right, we're all going to be rated over in just a second. It's going to start in 2 minutes. The countdown is on, guys. Do I have any more super chats to read out, or have I gotten everything? Gotten everything so far. All right. With that said, guys, we're going to raid over, so just stay here and then we'll raid straight over there. I guarantee you're going to love this. It is a really funny breakdown. I'll be with all of you over there chatting. Okay? So, let's get over there. Peace out, guys. Much love. See you all over in the live premiere of the video.